Grand Rising, good people. Grand Rising, how you doing? It's Coach Renz, and today we're going to be talking about Josephus. If you follow me for the first time, you might want to skip to about 5 minutes for when we get started. But we are a page where we deconstruct religion, as I get my cigar ready, and we are going to talk about Josephus and his reliability. Oh, what a difference 6 years make. Last time I did a deep dive on Josephus was 6 years ago. Now imagine that it's going to be a little deeper than it was 6 years ago. Well, it's not anything to imagine. It's something I definitely know. This version will be deeper than my video from 6 years ago. But that's how long it's been since I tackled this information. And of course, there are newer information that has come about since the first time I talked about Josephus in great detail. So I look forward to this conversation that we're about to have. As you come on, let me know who you are. I like welcoming people. I want to thank everybody who shares the videos. Please continue to share the videos. I greatly appreciate it. The share is amazing. But we're going to talk about Josephus today. If you've heard of Josephus, that's great. If you haven't heard of Josephus, that's even great. Because now, if you've never heard of Josephus, never read anything about Josephus, I do implore you to go and research other people's information as well about Josephus. We always want to get more than one side of any story. We always want to get different perspectives. That way we can have the most information and then come to our own conclusion. So I want you to do that. You know, I might want to save this one. This one will be good for a video. Oh, well, I didn't know. I'm also the owner of Smoking Phoenix Cigar Company. So we got to have a cigar involved. And I just blew out my fire. So I am Coach Renz. If you haven't met me before, you are interested in life coaching, spiritual coaching, business coaching, give me a holler. I want to thank Donald. He went out and purchased a book that I wrote that is still incredibly valid today. And that book is called, it's on CoachRenz.com in the store, called How to Escape Mental Welfare. So thank you, Donald. There we go. Got my coffee ready. And we about ready to get started. Just getting people a little bit of time to get home. For those who are already here, have you heard of Josephus, read about Josephus, know anything about Josephus ben Mathieu? Good, yes, no, a little bit. Just heard the name. Read the Antiquity of the Jews and the Annals of Titus, or Annals of Titus. Saw some videos, read some PhD papers. Grand Rising Carla. Carla says she called it Miss Jackson. Said yes, she's heard of it. Read a little. Good. Good. I'm going to be getting started here in about 48 seconds. Get started on this video. So we can all become a little bit more, have a little bit more information as we move forward in whatever our pathway is, as far as the primary audience for this channel is those who have deconstructed or are in the process of deconstructing from religion, primarily Christianity. We had a great live yesterday. It was supposed to be about how the Bible treats women, but it turned into a whole big old debate with a young man who's Christian. Grand Rising Debbie, Texas. Oh, Debbie, you might want to go and look at that video yesterday. It wound up being a little over 4 hours long. Started out the first 45 minutes was literally about the title of it, which was, does the God of the Bible hate women? And then this young man said that he can debunk everything, and he came on and we talked everything but that subject. But it was an interesting debate. I will not declare winners or losers. It was just a good debate, put it that way. But some interesting things. I am going to take that video and chop some of them. You were sick, man. Oh, poor thing. You got to get better. Get you some of that. What were we talking about Wednesday night? What was the vitamin for boosting your immune system? IB6. Gotta get that immune system up, girlie. Cordero, Grand Rising, Michael, Grand Rising. Everything is going fantastic. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's the end of the week and the last day. So what you gonna do? So got an interesting weekend plan, so I'm ready. Does deconstructing from Jesus mean you can't? No sound. So YouTube is not getting sound? You get sound now? On YouTube? Well, deconstructing from religion, you're going to have some people who claim that they've deconstructed from religion and they have a relationship with Jesus, but that's still religion. Truly deconstructing, the short answer would be no. Because when you deconstruct from religion, then you recognize the errancy of the Bible itself, the whether or not the Jesus character is valid in his position that he holds in that religion. And since he is the cornerstone of that religion, then no, you wouldn't be able to still follow Jesus. Now, many people they walk away from the structured religion and they say that they are just followers of the teachings of Jesus. Oh, you. That was your phone. Gotcha. So no, you really, when you deconstruct from Christianity, you can't follow Jesus because he's the center point of that religion. It wouldn't, you would still be following something outside of yourself. You still be looking for this salvation and through the blood sacrifice of a human sacrifice. So that wouldn't work. Grand Rising, Michael, Brett, my nemesis, Grand Rising. And we had a storm last night down there in St. Kitts. Still, it's cool out there. It's warm down there. It's a warm tropical storm. In fact, it's called a tropical storm in itself is enough. The Council of Nicaea is responsible for the whole Jesus thing. A little bit before that. Well, a lot before that. Now, if you're saying responsible as far as making it so that it becomes such a dominant religion, yes. So credulous? What do you mean by that? What or who is so credulous? Grand Rising Margarita. My tata. All right. Now, I had asked a question. Who all have read, heard, know about Josephus ben Matthias? Got a few answers, so we're going to get started. We're going to go ahead and get started about in speaking on this character of Josephus ben Matthias and why is he so important in the development of what becomes Krispy Kreme. I was gonna say crispy Christians. Ah, ah. Oh, you were saying so who created us? Okay, because it got so and then create us. So who is our God? That's the thing. You first, your first God, and God is you. That's the first one. But I know what you mean. There. So if you, for those of us who still accept that there is a creative mind, a creative being that created everything, it has to fit a couple of profiles. One, it can't be. It always has to be itself, right? So, because I want you to figure this out for yourself. It has to always be itself. It can never be a part of itself over here or a part of itself over there, split in any way. It can never be taken away from, nor can it be added to. And then nothing on the outside of it. There can be nothing on the outside of it, and no other force can cause it to do anything. So anger, jealousy, emotions can't cause it to do anything. A person standing on a mountaintop trying to debate with it and convincing it, no. Having regrets, no. So all these emotions that drives this deity, creating something in order to have love or something to love, it has to create simply because it just creates. But all these things that drives it, if it has any drivers other than itself, because emotions, people do something emotionally like I was just not myself. No. And then it can't be added to or taken away from. And if it can be put in a book or it can be described in fullness, no. The creation can never define the creator, nor be outside of it, nor be level with it. So with that in hand, there is no deity that you can point to and say, this is God or that is God. Because the moment you do, you just made God not God. And there's a peace there's peace and serenity when you get there to be able to say, I don't know, nor do I have a need to know. No, the tree can't be God because the tree is definable. Where did you see it at? I would be like, see it or read it. Mm-hmm. I had seen something about Moses that he was really Pharaoh Akhenaten, and it was the Reed Sea. Yes, it was the Reed Sea. No, it was not Akhenaten. It might have been he might have been, the closest he could have been is one of the followers. His story could have been taken from one of the followers of Akhenaten named Ramoses, but it was definitely not Akhenaten itself because the time frame wouldn't match at all. Well, no. See, Matata, the tree is part of the all as well, right? Remember the divine paradox. The all is in all, but all are not the all. So the all is in all, but all is not the all. If a tree was the all, then the tree would know it's the all and have consciousness of the all and wouldn't just sit there as a tree. It would know that it is the fullness of the universe. A dog would know it. I would know it. You would know it. The cigar would know it and probably not let me burn him. Well, that's your purpose, isn't it? To be burned and enjoyed. All right. Stop it. Stop. See, this is what y'all do. This is what y'all do every day, Monday through Friday, when we do this. Y'all know there's a subject matter. Y'all know it's a subject matter. Y'all want to just get started in other stuff? Won't even let me do my little do the subject matter. Let me do the subject matter first. Y'all always starting stuff. I'm tired of y'all, man. I'm tired of y'all. Always doing stuff like that. Don't be my bad. It ain't just you, Michael too. Oh, who did it? Was it Michael or Matthew who did it? I think Michael was. Oh, Michael Matthews. That's what I was saying. Grand Rising Jarvis. I never seen Jarvis spelled that way. Jarvis. Oh, cool. All right, so we're gonna get started. Josephus ben Matthias. Who in the three levels of hell is Josephus ben Matthias? Well, let me take you on a journey to a far, far away galaxy a long, long time ago. No. So a long, long time ago, though, in and around 37 BCE, 37 CE, was born a little child in Judea, which was under Roman control. And his parents named him Josephus ben Matthias, Josephus of Matthias. Josephus grew up as a young man and he was born into the priesthood. He became one of the Pharisees, and he was a Pharisee of the zealots in and around Galilee. Well, as he was growing up and became a statesman for the Galilean people that was under Roman control, Josephus at one point took a trip to Rome to meet with Nero in the 50s, somewhere around in the 50s, to diplomat, to talk to Nero about releasing 12 poets. So he had a familiarity with Roman customs, Roman laws, the Roman mentality. There's a reason why I'm telling you this part. But then Josephus, upon his return, and then with there being many uprisings in the Judea area, in the Roman Empire by the Jewish people, Josephus will become a primary key player in all of the uprising. Now, let's get into what this is about so that you have a good understanding of what was going on at the time frame. So at the time frame, what you have is that Judea is under Roman control after Rome had taken Judea from the Greeks. Well, one of the rules within the Roman Empire is that a statue of Caesar must be placed in your temples. So on many occasions, every time this was attempted to have a statue placed into the temple in Jerusalem, the Jews would revolt. On one occasion, when Emperor Claudius was having one of his statue brought to Judea, the governor of Syria, I forget his name at the time, I think it was Apollyon or something like that. His name was like Apollius. He was afraid. He was worried, and he actually was on his way down there with legions. He was taking legions with him, and he was going slow about it. The reason why he was going slow, because he knew that this was going to cause a revolt in Jerusalem. This was going to be problematic, and that the people were going to either protest peacefully, like stand in front of the place and not allow, and this had become a popular thing in Judea, was to have a non-aggression protest. And so non-violent protests started before Jesus, but he was going to have a non-violent protest. And that bird, this same bird from yesterday, yes, it is dead. So it was having this, and he was worried, but thankfully for his sake, because he's risking his life by taking his time, Caligula gets killed. Caligula dies. I think I said Claudius, but I meant Caligula. But he dies, and it might be Claudius. No, I think it was Caligula. He dies, and he doesn't have to take the statue in there. So this was a major problem. So when Nero becomes emperor, and understand the job of the Roman emperor is to maintain the empire, expand or maintain the empire. That's your job. Things that disrupt the empire are internal conflicts. These rebellions of the Jews were problematic. Caesar, Nero, could not fix them. So, because the Jews were like, hey, you want to put the statue in here? And the Jews is also saying that we need every Sabbath off. We don't work on the Sabbath. And this was problematic because the Romans worked every day except for Roman holidays, but beyond that, they worked every day. Was that the admonition of desolation of that time? You using big words, man. I don't even know what you mean by that. I honestly, I don't know what you mean by that. Was that the abolition? Shit, you gonna make me look up some words, man. I know what desolation means. I don't know what abolition means. I don't know everything. I want to know. A thing that causes disgust or hatred. Grand Rising Christian. Let me try and change my subjects. So that was something. Yeah, that is something that would have caused hatred and disgust at that time. Is the fact that they wanted to put a statue of, and not only do you have to put the statue in your temple, but you also have to once a year pay homage to it. You also have to pay a certain amount of taxation during when you're paying that homage. Thank you, Debbie. And then they wanted to have that day off every once a week, and that was a problem as well. So they weren't interested in that. I'll look at it later, Christian. They were having problems with that. Now, Nero had a general. This general's name was Vespasian Flavius. He was up there in the north, in Northern Europe, and he decimated the Druids. So this was his favorite general. This is the number one general. Plus, the emperor always wants to be friendly with the number one general because whoever the military likes the most is who can easily become emperor. Just like in most countries, a military coup is the coup that happens the most often. So Vespasian is given orders by Nero to come down to Judea and shut down this Jewish revolt. Now, understand, they had these same kind of revolts under the Greeks, so you would think that they would have already known because you had the War of the Jews and the Maccabees, right? So you would think they would have already known this through the study of antiquity, but hence they didn't. Well, they didn't fully understand it, and of course they were arrogant, thinking that they were Romans. So Vespasian comes into Judea in and around the 66, 67, somewhere around that time frame, and he's going to start his conquest of the Jewish people. Now, one thing that Vespasian is very aware of is that the story that moves the people is vital to destroying a people, right? If you can destroy a person's history, destroy a person's antiquity, then you have a better chance at destroying the person if you can destroy their reason for their fight. This is what he did to the Druids. If you ever want to wonder why the Druids, these people who claim to be Druids today, are descended from Druids, they have absolutely no writings. That most of the runes and the writings or the ones who practice the spell work of Druids, that is pretty much made up, is because Vespasian destroyed all their writings. There's absolutely zero Druid writings that we have left over. Anything else, anything that you do see is made up. Somebody recreated it. Now, Vespasian would have kept a copy of it for himself. The only problem is that I believe Rome burnt at least 2 or 3 more times. So after Vespasian, so we don't have any of that information. So what do we have? Vespasian is coming into Judea. When he comes into Judea, the first place that he comes to and the battle begins, or the ministry, because we're also going to look at how Vespasian and Titus marries up to the Jesus story. The first place that Vespasian and Titus ministry, Jesus, starts is in Galilee. which is where he fights against Josephus. So in this battle against Josephus, a couple of things happen. One thing that happens is that in the sea battle against Josephus, Titus and the Romans destroy the Galilean boats. And when the Galileans are trying to make their way to the shore, Titus is said, according to Josephus, Titus told his men, I will now make you fishers of men. We will catch these people like fish. And they began to spear them as they were coming out of the waters. So Jesus' ministry starts in Galilee. He says, I will make you fishers of men to the fishermen. Titus, same scenario. Now, Josephus is captured in this battle. But let me tell you how crooked this joker is. So Josephus and about 40 of his men are held up in a cave after losing the battle. Josephus was the military general for the Galilean army who was during that time frame. I know that sounds weird for us because we don't have ministers or priests who are military leaders, but in their day, that was a normal thing, that your military leaders were also priests. This was their thought process of having God on their side when they are in battle, right? Whoever God they worship. They're held up in this cave after being defeated. The men they refuse to become slaves. So they say that, and of course, suicide is a sin. So they decide that they're going to make a little pact, and they draw straws, so to speak, like cast lots. And whoever pulls the short straw has to kill the other 39 and then suicide themselves. Well, guess who got the short straw? Josephus. Josephus is a survivor. Josephus is a guy who's going to make sure that he survives. So I think that Josephus rigged the game and made sure that he survived. Upon surviving, instead of killing himself, after killing everybody else, he surrenders himself to Vespasian and Titus. And now him being the general in charge is not going to be treated exactly the same way as any common soldier who's going to be captured. And he is then made into the translator for the Roman army that's in Judea. And while he's translating, he's getting time to spend with Vespasian and Titus. He then begins to tell Vespasian that based on the Jewish he did surrender anyway. Yeah. But based on the Jewish writings, that the next ruler of the world, the Messiah, will come out of Judea. And this is intriguing to Vespasian primarily for one reason. By this time frame, there's rumblings in Rome. People are saying that they are tired of Nero. They think that Nero is going to be disposed. Other than some other politicians, the most likely candidate would be Vespasian. Vespasian also needs to be deified in order for him to ascend to becoming the Roman emperor. By having a Jewish story that says that this Messiah, who is going to be the Son of God, who is going to be a God rather, who is God, it helps to make him a deity. It helps to deify him to the imperial religion. You see, the imperial religion is the religion of the very top people of the emperors, and they make that emperor into a god. Now, this will also help Grand Rising and Dana from the Dominica. Y'all enjoying that good weather. This will also help Titus to become deified once he becomes emperor as well. So when Josephus tells him this, which if you read the Josephus' Jewish Antiquities, and I did bring that part quoted up. He literally, this is one reason why he literally calls Vespasian the Messiah. So when we get to the Testimonium Flavianus, I'm going to refer back to this again, where Vespasian said the Jews took this prediction to belong to themselves in particular. and many of the wise men were thereby deceived in their determination. Now, this oracle certainly denotes the government of Vespasian, who was appointed emperor of Judea. That's one translation of it. Another translation of it, which is very similar, but I just want you to have both, Lebo's translation. But what more than all incited them to the war was an ambiguous oracle, likewise found in their sacred scriptures, to the effect that at that time one from their country would become ruler of the world. This they understood to mean someone of their own race, and many of their wise men went astray in their interpretation of it. The oracle, however, in reality signifies that the sovereignty of Vespasian, who was proclaimed emperor on Jewish soil. So what he basically is saying, Josephus is saying that the Messiah was simply didn't have to be a person who was Jewish, but had to be a person who was declared ruler of the world while on the soil of Judea, and that person is the Messiah to which they were looking for. So no matter which translation you ever look at for that one, it will always be that Josephus, and that's in War of the Jews 654. So book 6, chapter 4, I think it goes. So it's in the war. It's in his, not War of the Jews, but it's in the war, is what it's called, and it's book 6, should be chapter 5 and the 4th verse. That pretty much has Vespasian, which is the same claim he used to get close to Vespasian and Titus to save himself. Getting ready for Tropical Storm Tammy. Well, lock it down, young lady. Lock it down. Stay safe. So this was used in order of Grand Rising Brian to deify Vespasian. Already there's a conflict. Why would he claim Jesus as a Christ, as a Messiah, as a Christ, if he already proclaimed Vespasian as the Messiah? Right? He doesn't. You can't. It invalidates it. And since he becomes a full-fledged Roman himself, he would not have put himself in jeopardy like that. But so he becomes this guy who is he goes from being the translator to becoming Titus's scribe. And the reason he becomes Titus's scribe, because a few months later, Vespasian receives notification from Rome that he needs to come to Rome because he's going to be crowned the new emperor of Rome. And of course, he now has Vespasian now has Josephus's writings to help him get deified. And it also looks like Josephus's prediction is coming true. So Vespasian leaves. Now, before he leaves, he does head down to Egypt. The reason why he has to head down to Egypt is he has to pay homage to the governors of Egypt. One important person that he has to pay homage to is Philo of Alexandria, because Philo, who is a Hellenized Jew, but is also one of the richest men in Rome at the time, is vital to have these. You got to have the big wigs in your pocket. You got to have the people who are important. And Egypt held a lot of that because Egypt was very important as far as the trade routes were concerned as well. So before he came to Rome, he had to ingratiate himself with Egypt and make sure he had the people of Egypt, the powerful people of Egypt, in support of him becoming emperor. So he's on a politicking tour. While he's on that politicking tour, just to add a little more information to it. That's why, like this video that I did 6 years ago about the same subject, there's more information that I didn't know as well back then. While he was in Egypt, Tacitus reports that Vespasian that two men received visions from Serapis, and Serapis instructed those two men to go to Vespasian and to be healed, one of blindness and one of a hand that was infirmed. Vespasian speaks with his counselors, says that he should go ahead and do it. He spits on the dirt, makes some mud, and put it in the guy who's blind eye. Blows in his eye, blows on his face, and the guy begins to see. He puts the other man's hand on the ground, puts his heel on his hand, and then the man's hand becomes healed. So with the power of Serapis, Vespasian heals a blind man, and Vespasian heals a man who has an infirm hand. Right? Now, if you think about it, he's being shown to be the Messiah from the people of Judea. Now he's shown to be connected to Serapis. And Serapis is very important in his ascension because we know that Serapis is representing Apis, Ra, and Zeus, right? No, Serapis, that's a later bringing together. At this time frame, Serapis is not the Christ. Serapis is and in its beginning, in its conception, Serapis was the Greeks combining Apis, Ra, and Zeus into one deity when they took over Egypt, and that's part of their Hellenization process. So when Vespasian is down there, he's showing the Greeks and the Egyptians that he is honored by and part of their god Serapis. Because there was no separation between church and state, and he has to be made into a god. So after he's in Egypt for a while, he goes to Rome and he becomes emperor. Now, back to Josephus. Josephus, at this time frame, he is with Titus. And the story of Titus and the story, when you read the annals of Titus or the annals of Titus, they become was the first fake healing preacher. When you read their story, they are very similar. They start in Galilee. Then they go out into this wilderness area in the outskirts of Galilee. And then after they move around for a while, they make a decision to go to Jerusalem, both Titus and Jesus. Then Titus sends a group ahead of him to prepare the way for his entrance, prepare the way for him to come to Jerusalem. While Titus is on his way to Jerusalem, the 12th legionnaires are caught off guard by some Jewish rebels. They're stripped of everything. And then Titus, and this happens in Samaria, by the way. So so they're stripped of everything. And then Titus comes and he resupplies them in Samaria. This is your Good Samaritan story. Many people have wondered why this Good Samaritan story is in the Bible. What was the whole point? Because it's lifted from Titus resupplying the 12 legionnaires in Samaria after they had been stripped and battered in Samaria, and he goes to resupply them on his way to Jerusalem. So if you've ever wondered why that story seems out of place, that's why. So he goes then when he gets to Jerusalem, Titus first encircles Jerusalem. He doesn't enter immediately. The same as Jesus. He doesn't enter immediately. Then he builds a watchtower, the same as Jesus building a watchtower. Then while he's laying siege to Jerusalem, he pulls up all the fruit trees. Jesus talks about pulling up the fruit tree. And then Titus says that when he have to prepare everything so they can enter into Jerusalem with all fanfare, which Jesus enters in with all this fanfare. And then he says to not leave one stone on top of another. This is what Titus says. And then Jesus says the exact same thing. So there are many similarities of the Titus story and the Jesus story. Now, one of the things that I found interesting over the years is that Romans are assholes, okay? Romans were assholes. When they like to write their version of satire, which was to take from their own stories and make somebody else's story follow theirs. The Jewish had a topographical style of writing where they would take a topic and they would write a new story, and it would be very similar. We've seen that already. The story of Lot, in Sodom and Gomorrah, and then when you get to Judges 25, you got the guy going into the other city. I forgot the name of the city. And the same thing happens. Don't sleep outside. The men in the city want to get down with you. Come stay at my house. Yeah, it's basically plagiarism. But do you know how even today, like I love Tombstone, the movie Tombstone, but whoever was floating that script at the time, somebody said, "Ooh, I'm gonna write a script too about Wyatt Earp," and pretty much writes the same thing. So they call it, but for their time, they call it topographical writing. So it was okay to plagiarize, basically. But we see the similarities in different stories. The Moses story and the beginning of the Jesus story, going to Egypt, coming out of Egypt, that whole deal, having to stay away until somebody who's trying to kill you dies, all these similarities that they're going to draw from when they're rewriting these stories to make it seem like it's prophecy. That's why Christians today will say, "Oh, the Moses story was a precursor to Jesus." No, it was the style of writing that was how they wrote during that time frame. All right, so the Jesus story mimics a lot of the Jesus story mimics what happened with Titus as he was moving through Judea and conquering Judea. So he enters and he tears everything down. So now what happens to Josephus? Well, Josephus moves to Rome with Titus. He doesn't stay there. And when he moves to Rome with Titus, first he's given a Jewish wife, and then that doesn't work out because she was a slave, and that was against their tradition. And then after that, they give him another wife, and she doesn't work out. And then they give him a Hellenistic Jewish wife, and then that finally works out. Now, Vespasian is faced with an issue. Some of it is allegory, some of it is literal. Vespasian is faced with an issue. The issue is the Jewish people are still revolting, and he hasn't crushed their story. Titus didn't crush their story. So Vespasian comes up with a very ingenious plan that actually winds up backfiring. His plan is to create a version of Judaism that is docile. Since Josephus is his primary scribe, Josephus has been writing the annals of Titus. Vespasian puts Josephus on the job. But not only Josephus, when he was in Egypt, he befriends Philo of Alexander. So Philo of Alexander is on the job. Philo, like I said, is a Hellenistic Jew. So why would he do it? Because money. All right, money. There's another person within the whole circle, and that is I can't remember which Herod, the third or fourth, that was in charge of Judea during this time frame. But this Herod was also put. So you have this triumvirate. And let me tell you some crazy stuff that solidifies the triumvirate. Philo of Alexander has a daughter or sister. I think it might be his sister. But his sister, who is called Prince Beatrice. Prince Beatrice marries the Herod, but then she's the concubine also, or she's the mistress of Titus. So they all connected more than just in power and money. They also connected in interest, right? So, but what they need to do is shut down these Jewish revolts, because even though Vespasian has become emperor, the Jewish revolts are still occurring. So they need to get rid of Judaism in its totality, and their method of doing this is to begin these writings of the Gospels. Although Josephus didn't, it is not thought that Josephus wrote the Gospels himself. It is more believed that his writings were part of it, were used to write them, and that probably the most prominent writer of it was Philo of Alexander, right? So because of this, we start getting the Gospels are very similar to the conquest of Judea, because they want this to be an evangelical story. The word evangelical comes from the word evangelion, which means good news of military victory. So an evangelist is a person who gives you good news of military victory. So the story is a war story, and this is supposed to be a docile version that conquers a this warring version of Judaism, right? And you're right, he did write what Rome allowed him to write, but he had to write smartly too, because the Romans, this is why your Gospels are pro-Roman, but the Jews can't look too weak, because they don't like a yes man either. But yes, it is very fictional. The only reason they had to stay because they had better scribes and the sword. That's one of the reasons. Yep, they had better scribes than the sword. And Josephus played right into that by becoming like right up there. And Josephus literally lived in Rome, had an apartment in Vespasian's castle, in the emperor's castle, and so he was right there with them. Now, in the writing of this story, they had to make him. They had to create another character, and that character they used was a Jesus, multiple Jesus characters. You see, when you read Josephus's writings, one of the things that you find that he talks about some different Jesuses, which is why many scholars do say that there was a historical Jesus. I say that there were historical Jesuses, because all of these Jesuses are not the same individual. Were there Yahshua people that Josephus wrote about that were against the Roman governments in Judea? Yes. There is a Yahshua who is the brother of James. Now, this person he does say was a Christ, not the Christ, but a Christ, meaning an anointed person, right? Any of y'all can be anointed. Hell, when I was a deacon, I was anointed. When I was an assistant, well, I was not an assistant pastor, but when I was a team pastor, I was anointed. All right. Anybody, but now, of course, they take anointing to be like, oh, you're anointed by the Holy Spirit and you got all the jumping and stuff. But anybody can be anointed. That's all Christ means, an anointed one. It doesn't make you the Messiah. He clearly said the Messiah was Vespasian. The Yahshua, brother of James, he said was an anointed one. So it just means he was in the priesthood. He also talks about another Yahshua who was punished by a Roman governor, I think it's Quintius. And so he wasn't punished by the Roman governor Pontius Pilate, but by a totally different governor. So he's talking about that's a different Yeshua. There was a different Yeshua that flipped over tables in the tabernacles, right? So you got different Yeshuas. Now he does talk about a John the Baptist. So he's validating a John the Baptist character. But all these Jesuses and Titus and Vespasian were molded into what becomes the legendized version of Jesus, this one character, this one central character. Because once Vespasian has been made a deity, and that means Titus, his son, is the son of a deity, then it doesn't matter if you allow the Jewish people to have someone else now be that Messiah, because the work has been done for Vespasian already. With the help of Philo and Herod, they're able to create this Jesus religion that is supposed to be docile. All of a sudden, where it was no statues, don't pay certain taxes, things of this nature, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. The kingdom of heaven is, ethereal. It's not right here. This revolution is a revolution of the mind and revolution of the heart. It's not we're going to literally pick up swords and shields and fight and be delivered free from the Romans. That's not the message of this new teaching, this new Jesus. So a historical, as far as Josephus is concerned, this writing, this Jesus character that is in the Testimonium Flavianus, he would have never written about. It goes something like, and there was a shepherd, and there was a shepherd, and he was a man, if he was a man, but he was the Christ, and he provided, and he did miracles, many miracles and wonders. He said, and he did many miracles and wonders. What? Why am I struggling? Let me just find a goddamn thing. Testimonial Flavianus. That thing said testimonial of, okay.
Here's Rihanna on YouTube.
I did not say anything about no damn Rihanna. Y'all see how it did me? Did y'all see how it did me? Josephus. I'll just say Josephus. I said, and this thing thought I said Rihanna. So in what he says that people try to say that Josephus did validate Jesus. He said, now there was about this time Jesus, a wise man, if it be lawful to call him a man, for he was a doer of wonderful works, a teacher of such men as received the truth with pleasure. He drew over to him both many of Jew and many Gentiles. This ain't got the full. This ain't the full one. That was not the full. I wanted the full one. I'm going to try this again. Josephus and Testimonial Flavianus. All right, here's the full version of it. Now there was about this time Jesus, a wise man, if it be lawful to call him a wise man, for he was a doer of wonderful works, a teacher of such men as received the truth with pleasure. He drew over to him both many of the Jews and many of the Gentiles. He was the Christ, and when Pilate, at the suggestion of the principal men amongst us, had condemned him to the cross, those who loved him at the first did not forsake him, for he appeared to them alive again the third day, as the divine prophets had foretold these and 10,000 others wonderful things concerning him. The tribe of Christians, so named for him, are not extinct to this day. Okay, so there's a bunch of problems with this. There's a few problems with this one, right? First thing, as a Jew, he would not have called him the Christ as he did with the other person James, his brother James, he called him a Christ, not the Christ. It wouldn't be Tom Christos. It would have been just Christos, which would denote a Christ, which means an anointed, a person who's just been anointed. Now, to say that, and then he would not have said he would have said that these people this is what they believed, that he died and rose. But the thing that's kills it is the fact that he said, and the tribe of Christians, so named from him, and they are not extinct today. He would not have said that. In the Jewish is Tom Christiano. He would not have used that terminology because that wasn't a term during that time frame. During the life of Josephus, there was no such word as Christian. And one of the other aspects of this is, at no time frame did any of the earlier church fathers refer to this when they referred to Josephus. You see, Irenaeus referred to Josephus when he was talking about James, the brother, and John the Baptist. So did Justin Martyr and a few others. I think Jerome referred to him. But at no time did any of these people who referred to Josephus' works to talk about Christians and how they were persecuted or anything of that nature, did they refer to the Testimonium Flavianus. It is more than like the first time some church father refers to it is in the 400s. It is not until after Christianity becomes the religion of Rome. It wasn't referred to at the Council of Nicaea, at the meeting in Milan, at any other time frame. Not. Athanasius never says anything about it. No one does. Not until the 5th century, which is in the 400s, does it is referred to. This is another reason why it is believed to be added in. Plus, the language before it and the language after it doesn't match Josephus' style of writing, as far as most linguist scholars are concerned, literary scholars are concerned, and so it's a forgery. The church added it in order to give historical credibility to Jesus. What'd you find? And Brian, I'm with you on that one. Sometimes I think, and I've been looking to do a study on that Paul and Josephus are the same person, especially since one of Paul's writing is a book called Titus. Have you read about the Hebrews being the gladiators used when Israel became Jewish from Hebrew? Like the Palestine president said, they left black and came back white. I've never read about that, but I don't see why there would not have been any. There were Hebrew gladiators throughout in the Roman times. But I don't understand. But I've never read anything similar to what you're talking about, though. But this idea that Josephus, a lot of Christians like to pull this one out their butt. Oh, Josephus had the Testimonium Flavianus. He's writing about the fact he's talking about Jesus. He's talking about Christ. No, he's not. He's talking about different people who were revolting against Rome, but these people were Jewish. None of them he declared to be the Messiah. He said that some of them were in the priesthood, that they were a Christ. But what they're not, what you're not, but what they're not telling you is that he also said that Vespasian was the Messiah. And there's a difference between being a Christ and being a Messiah to those people at that time frame. So they won't talk about that one. So anytime somebody brings up Josephus to you, you can always look at Josephus's history. The fact that the writings are exactly the same as the writings of the annals of Titus and the exploits of Titus, as well as their connection to the Philos and the Herods of Philo of Alexander and Herod. The other person they're going to pull out their butt is Tacitus. Tacitus is merely verifying that there were people who believed in this story that was created. And Tacitus didn't write this until 119, 120. So literally 80 years, 70, 80 years after the supposed events happened. And he's writing it at a time frame when Josephus is dead. Anybody who could have possibly been alive in that time frame are all dead. So there's no one to challenge him at that time frame. And if you accept Titus's work, then you should also accept the fact that Serapis exists, since Vespasian healed some people based on Serapis. Have I read any book from Ralph Ellis? No, I don't. I haven't. I don't know who that is. So what do you guys think? Do you think that I feel like this one was a little disjointed in how I explained everything. I should have put some notes and put it in the order that I wanted to explain it. So I don't feel happy about this video so far, personally. But do you think that, are you guys at least better equipped to deal with anybody or deal with anything, or did it give you any enlightenment concerning Josephus and the Testimonium Flavianus? Was anything new to you, or was this all old hat? Grand Rising Derek. What time is it? Sorry, somebody need me to call them, but I'm gonna need to tell them what time they're gonna get this phone call. It says 1. Y'all ain't talking to me now. Come on, talk to me. Talk to me now. Talk to me. Y'all had a lot to say yesterday. Testimonial Rihanna. I know YouTube just be knowing good and well I don't be listening to a lot of that. But there is still going to be some Christians who are going to say that the Testimonium Flavianus is valid. That's because they want it to be. They have a desire for it to be, because they know that there is not much in actual history that proves they're Jesus. So they need it. It's not as wide known, but as most of us would like to be expounded on it. It's not as wide known as most of us would like it to be, to expound on it more. So you want, that's pretty much all the information I have on it. I'm sure that there's some other scholars who know even more, who can draw even more connections between the annals of Titus and the Jesus story. As far as who Josephus was, that's about the size of Josephus, of who he was. Philo of Alexander, you can go into more detail about him and who he was and how he was writing. He began writing for Vespasian after he became emperor, and they wanted to create a docile version of Judaism. Definitely open your eyes to new things looked into. Good. Never heard it from his perspective. Good. And that's a very important thing. I want people to, I hope that it intrigued you enough to say, oh, well, let me go You may not read the entirety of Josephus's work, but you'll go and research some of his work. Get a good idea of his work so that you can understand how they have taken this information and misconstrued some of it in order to fit their paradigm, especially when you see that none of these church fathers mention it. If Josephus had said that, then, and since his work was, kept, still have it to this day, you would think that they would have been all over that. You would think they would have been. But the fact that they weren't, that in itself is like a huge indictment. Was Josephus during the time of Serapis Christos? Josephus was born in 37 and he died around 100 CE. Serapis came before him. Serapis was when the Greeks were in charge of the Levant and Egypt. So that's a few hundred years earlier. Verify with your research. Good. A topic that needs more discussion, of course. Yeah, I know it's kind of like I've thrown this information in and out on some videos, but not really fully just talked about it. And I happened to look up my own videos, and the last time I fully talked about this was 6 years ago. Of course, I know more stuff now than I knew in the 6 years ago video, even though that video was a lot smoother in this in my transitions though. I did that video, it was smooth. It has this loud ass music in the background, but it was smooth. I didn't realize how loud that music was. Grand Rising Luis. How you guys look and never read it? I know that name. That's what's. And somebody just texted me and told me somebody's using my picture on a false account. Why are people so messed? Why do people do that? Why use, if you can't use your own self to get your own stuff, why are you using somebody else's stuff? Right, I've seen this name before. I don't know what it was in reference to. What's it like? Manito? It's a coin Greek name. Menethon? He's the author of the History of Egypt in the Greek and the major chronicler source of the reigns of kings of Egypt after whether they wrote the history and the king's list during the time of the Ptolemy Soter I, or Ptolemy I Soter. I've seen the name before. I couldn't remember why, but it seems like he was a Greek historian. But what are you getting at? Oh, you asking who was it? But yeah, I would have to. I know I read something about this dude before, and it might be the fact that he's a Greek historian. Or I just came across his name. I can honestly say you forgot more than I've learned. Whatever, man. Actually, I think I hit all the key points that I did in this video 6 years ago, but added more information, sir. I didn't talk about Tacitus. I didn't connect as many of the things of Titus as I did in this one. I didn't have it as concise in this video as the other one. But you know a lot more than you give yourself credit for, Cordero. So whatever that be is, man. You know how much Egyptian influence in Christianity? A good bit of Egyptian influence. This is one of the reasons why I think Philo of Alexandria was one of the primary people who was writing the Gospels, because he is writing from his perch in Alexandria, Egypt. And he wasn't stupid. He was smart. The reason why I think one of the books is Matthew is the first book is because Philo was a tax collector for the Romans, but he was a tax collector for the whole country of, the region of Egypt, of Kemet. So Matthew, although starts out as a person that they look down upon, all of a sudden Matthew grows and he becomes great. He becomes a great person. So I think Matthew is a representation of Philo of Alexander. And Jesus coming to hide in Egypt, making Egypt. When you look at the Old Testament, Egypt is always a bad place. But now in the New Testament, Egypt is a good place for him to come hide, and be safe in Egypt. And of course, he would do some of the same things that Serapis has done. He would do some of the same things that Horus and Osiris. Jesus would do some of those same things. They would use, even though he was a Hellenistic Jew, he's still a Jew. So he's still going to pull from other stories and older stories to make his stuff work. When you look at Matthew, it has a lot of similarities to the Moses story, which comes out of Egypt. But Egypt is, like I said, looked bad upon, but now they're going to make Egypt look good. Oh, yeah. This won't be the first time somebody's used my picture to say and to try to sell their products. And it's one of my cigar pictures. So I guess they're trying to sell some cigar product. I haven't looked at it. Have you read the Clementine Homilies like 25 years ago? And I think I've only read it like maybe once, about 20 back. I was horrible 25, 30 years ago. I would read one book and then I read the next book and I read the next book, read the next book, read the next book. I didn't reread books, and rereading books is very important. So the Clementine Homilies, I haven't read in 25 plus years. It's one of those things that I know I read it, but I couldn't tell you anything about it. Oh, because you said that Josephus got some of his information from him? If possible. It's very possible. It's not like historians. I mean, let's be reasonable. No historian is getting their information firsthand. All their information firsthand. The only thing a historian can talk about firsthand is the things that happened during their lifetime. And that still may not be firsthand if they weren't present. So most historians, I could call myself a historian if I started writing books of what happened in the Georgia in the 1960s. I didn't live there, but I would have to interview people. I'm telling their story. I would have to research different other historians and validate their information. So it's possible that he could have got his information. That could have been one of the sources of information that he obtained things from. And historians love to gain from other historians, from previous historians, that they view as being valid and accurate. So I wouldn't doubt it. This is also why I say a lot? You have to know, if you don't know the author, then you don't know what you're reading. So you should always investigate what influences a person. I definitely see money, power, safety, survival is one of the things that influenced Josephus. So he's not going to write. And then since the Romans, they respect the Greeks, even though they don't like the Greeks, they respect the Greeks' antiquity. So I can see if this guy being a comedic Greek historian would be somebody that he would follow that information if that's somebody the Romans like. Could you share information about Freemasons? Like what? What information? That their main motto of Freemasonry is the primary motto actually is making good men better. It's not a secret organization, but an organization with secrets. Because they would do a horrible job, since most of our books you can find in a bookstore. Most Masons are going to tell you that it's all about charity. And I would tell you bullshit. Charity is something that came along much later in Masonry. You know, I don't understand. I've never understood this. Maybe y'all can help me out. You know how people get upset and say, oh, the Illuminati, the Illuminati. When Adam Weishaupt first started the Illuminati, the modern day version of the Illuminati, the goal was to infiltrate government, infiltrate religion, infiltrate society in its totality, and illuminate the people, make all the information available to the people, and to get rid of the little cliques that are controlling everything. Why are people mad about that? Isn't that that's the thing that people say they want from government and from church? Like we say, we want the Vatican to open up all the doors. Well, the Illuminati was trying to do that. We want the government to tell us everything that was going on. The Illuminati was trying to do that. But we've allowed the government and the church to say that the Illuminati is bad, and so everybody believes the Illuminati is bad. And then anything negative that happens, people say, oh, the Illuminati did. The secret organization trying to control the world. And that is not even what the Illuminati is about. It's about illuminate. Look at the name. To illuminate. So, and then they say, well, when the Illuminati and the Knights Templars disbanded, they infiltrated into the Masons and the Rosicrucians and the Knights of Malta and the Skull and Bones and all these. Well, if those are the people who infiltrated those organizations and they're running those organizations, then why would you think, why are you trusting the organization that they fight against to say that that's who they are? I've always found that interesting. Maybe it's just me. Hang on, let me read some of these other questions. Why do you guys wear aprons? Because ancient Masons did. Ancient Masons did for different reasons that I can't tell you until you become one. It has nothing to do with gender, I can tell you that. I know in a modern day, people may think that, but it has nothing to do with gender. In the Book of Antiquities, Josephus talks about the Hyksos people being the Hebrews, which he learned from. Well, if he says that now, some of the Hebrew people come from the Hyksos, but the Hebrew people are a mismatch where they are Egyptians who used to worship the Aten. They are the Phoenicians. They are the subgroup that you have the whole primary group Canaanites, which all of them fall under. Then there is a subgroup of primary Canaanites. They are some of them. They are the Shashu people. So they're a mixture of multiple groups of ancient people. If I plagiarize a heroic fictional story based on someone else's life from the same city I grew up in, of course I would say stay away from that city. And person can cover to cover my life. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You thought about joining, you went to a lodge? Okay, cool. I would love to know your journey. Where are you? Matata? I know you told me before, where you at? Just like they gave a bad name to Freemason. Yeah, it was actually the anti-Masonic first bad name happened under some of the kings in England, but then kings and queens in England. But in America, the anti-Masonic party, when they ran for president, they used that as a kind of like the Nazis when they blamed the Jews for all the problems in Germany. This group blamed all the problems of America on Masons. And the Masons didn't fight back and correct their information. Guess who else was a Mason? Jesus and his dad Joseph. The Bibles used to say that they were stone masons, and then they changed it to carpenters after the anti-Masonic party. I always found that interesting. Like everything bad actors take good things and make them bad. Most of the time, exactly. Wasn't the Jesus character. Wasn't the Jesus character where to do this? What? I don't understand that, Daddy. Sexual energy. No, man. That's something that you won't learn until you become a Mason. Does the knowledge, like esoteric knowledge, has it helped you in Freemason being? It is just now starting to help me, only because my esoteric knowledge was already well beyond what most people who walk in the door of Masonry is. So many of the things that we would talk about in the different degrees, I already had a strong grasp of. There were a few things here and there, a couple of different ways of looking at a few things that I did pick up. But for the most part, for me, I was already there. It wasn't until I started hitting this 32nd degree that it's providing me more stuff. Lucifer is a planet, period. In its total origin is Venus, the planet Venus. Right, to infiltrate the brainwashing. Let me go back to your other statement. Wasn't the Jesus character to infiltrate the brainwashing? I am not sure. Debbie, you said, I don't know what you're saying. I am so confused. You're saying that Jesus was to infiltrate the brainwashing, that he was supposed to create the brainwashing? I'm a little confused, Debbie. I'm just not getting it. Grand Rising Valentino. Can we go a deep dive into NASA? Do you know how fast they say the Earth is moving? 1.3 miles. I avoid getting into the whole flat Earth conversation, and the moon landing whole deal. That's not one of those topics that I want to get involved in. It's bad enough that I have the infinite circle debate of Christianity and validation of Jesus. To add the infinite circle debate of flat Earth or moon landing is just too much. Freemasonry is Judaism for Gentiles. Freemason is not religious. Is not a religion, and it's not Judaism. We Americans and Western cultures use the Bible to represent certain things in our process, but Freemasonry actually began in Kemet. So the Kemetic rites are the actual oldest rites. Yeah, and he is. And when you go, so when I went to Nazareth, right? You know what is right next to Nazareth? An ancient Roman stone quarry. So Joseph, and when I was there, that's when I found out that in the older writings, Joseph was a stone carpenter. To deprogram the people, to deprogram them from Judaism, then I would say yes. Jesus was sent to deprogram them from Judaism and to make them into a Roman version of Judaism. Venus is the circle and cross on the Ankh. No, it's not. The circle on the portion of the Ankh is, I mean, I can see how you can say that, because the Venus, the circle part of the Ankh is the womb of Isis. It's the womb of a woman. The cross is the balls of a man. I mean, the cross is the ovary, sorry. The cross is the ovaries, represents the ovaries. The long slender part is the penis of Osiris, or penis of man. Oh, you're not a flat earth. Okay. Because I hate those debates. Yeah. Sometimes that, but there is a process that you can go through. It depends on what's on your record. Let me say that. Depending upon what's on your record, there's a process you can go through so that you can be made into one without, it's basically our version of expunging that record. Okay, so Sailor, Earth reality. Here's the thing. Why do people feel like if a person bashes one thing, as you say, that means they have to bash other things? Maybe I don't have an interest in NASA to that degree. So I don't have to bash everything that everybody wants me to, because if I did, then I'd be on here talking about every religion. I'd be talking about every government. I'd be talking about every race. I'd be talking about every gender. I talk about the things that I'm interested in, right? Because the things that I'm interested in are the things that I will go and do study on. And if I'm willing to do study, then I will, I feel confident in providing information. I don't study NASA. I don't feel confident in talking deeply about it because it's not something that I spend a lot of time studying. So just because I don't talk about what somebody wants me to talk about shouldn't be reflected as some kind of attitude or anything like that. It's just, I just don't. It's just not my thing. Freemason through and through. Yeah, I am. Talking to flat earth, we're talking to Chris. Well, he says he's not a flat earther, but if y'all notice, I don't really get into the whole all the government conspiracies talks and all that. I don't really get into that. Yeah, most people have been taught that Freemasonry is demonic, and so they get scared and run away from it. But the only way to know for yourself is to go and join it. And once you join, if you don't like it, you can always step away from it. Nobody will force you to stay in it. And only a person who's never been in Freemasonry would say that it's demonic because they don't know. And you can't learn more about Masonry if you're not a Mason. I can't stand these people I can't stand when people say, let me not say the people themselves, but if you've never been one, then you don't know the inner workings of it. And there's so many people who write books and they claim that they were Masons. And most of the time when I go and research that person, I find out that they never were a Mason in a legally constituted lodge. We do have these things called clandestine lodges. They are not true Masonic lodges. It's just some people who decide they're going to create their own version of it because the books are easy to get. Isn't the male and female? Yes, it's the joining of the masculine and the feminine energy in balance to manifest, to create. I gotta get another chain for my necklace that has my Ankh on it because I haven't been able to wear it. My apologies, Mayat. You want the Kemetic name, not the Greek name? I usually say both names so that because some people don't know the Kemetic. Okay. I mean, you're more than welcome to give your advice, Sailor, but there's no such thing as selling your soul. The only person you can ever sell your soul to is the negative portions of your own brain, your own negative self. Really discharge a firearm within city limits. I would talk to them about going through a healing process. Well, no, that's not healing. Sorry, that's not healing. there's a process. I can't remember the name of it, but I would talk to them about it. And how long ago was it? If it was a while back, and you just need then character witnesses. Maybe it's because oh, you're a concave earther, the real Earth. Can't prove it. Flat Earth, concave Earth, donut Earth. And yet, many people in government, many people who are in power, many people who are in science are Masons. So what? It has nothing to do with whether or not something is real or fake. If that's the case, then a lot of your medical treatments that you accept, you shouldn't accept them because the person who came up with them were Masons. And many of the technologies that you use, you should not use them that you like to use were Masons. Many of your government rules and laws that you follow, you should not follow because they were Masons. You should hate America because most of the founding fathers were Masons. So the Constitution should be like thrown in the trash because they were Masons. That's how idiotic that sounds to me. When a person says, oh, you don't want to talk about the moon landing because it's Masons. I don't know where you live, sailor reality person, but if you live in America, you should leave America because America, the United States Constitution was written by Freemasons and the first presidents were Freemasons, and you should leave. And don't ask the police for help because most of them are Masons. Don't ask the firemen to come put your house out because most of them, a lot of them are Masons too. You know, don't do it. That's how idiotic that sounds to me when somebody says something like, "Oh, because NASA is a bunch of Masons." Oh, goddamn, Christian. Yeah. That's hard. Unless it's been like 40 years and you got a hella character witnesses. That one's gonna be hard, my guy. That one's hard. That's a hard one. Did the 10 Commandments come from the 42 laws of Ma'at? I would say the 10 Commandments came from a combination of the Hammurabi Code and the 42 Confessions of Ma'at. Because both, they would have been aware of both, and you can see similarities of both. Yeah, you can't sell your damn soul. That's some bullshit. That's some made up Hollywood, old world Christian, Dante Inferno bullshit. About 15 years ago, you might be able to bring some character witnesses. Get to know some of those guys. Hang out with some of those guys. Let them get to know you. If you make that effort, then they might be able to kind of like deal. Because I've seen some guys who had some stuff in their records, and they took time. They got to know some of the brothers, and after getting to know the person, they went ahead and voted them in. I'm with you, Jose. Yeah, people hear Mason, they want to run for the hills. What are your view on tattoos? I have a small tattoo on my hand. I think tattoos are amazing. I have absolutely none. I want one, but every time I go and see how much the one that I want costs, I'm like, I'm not spending that kind of money. And then y'all talking about it's going to take 2 sessions of 8 hours. I'm not doing all that. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with tattoos. If a person want to tattoo their body, I think it's perfectly fine. You know, it's a way of expressing yourself. Oh, there's the other bullshit. Thank you, Sailor. There's the other bullshit. Well, you know, 99% of Masons don't really have any idea of what it's really about. How you know? Because 99% of Masons don't agree with the bullshit that y'all be spewing? Is that how you know? Is that why 99% don't know? Because the 99% who are of the higher degrees do know what it's about. But you always gonna say, oh no, but it's just the ones that are rolling on the very, very, very top. Bullshit. A bullshit? Bullshit. You're full of bullshit on that one. Every Mason knows that there is no religion in Mason. You only have to worship, you only have to believe in a higher power, but you cannot believe in any satanic deity. Oh, but at the very top, you have to bullshit. Bullshit. I have been through, and I know people who have been through some of the highest degrees of Masonry, and there is never ever some sexual ritual that you have to go through. There are no what y'all would call satanic ritual that you have to go through. Y'all are full of so much shit when people start talking about Masons because y'all don't know what the fuck y'all talking about. And then you throw out that arbitrary 99% don't know. You don't know. You know absolutely nothing about Masonry. You only know what people who have grown up brainwashed believing that they know something about it. And these fake people, oh, I used to be a 33rd degree Mason and I'm going to expose Masonry. They never were. They never were a 33rd degree Mason. That's such bullshit. Y'all amaze me with all that. Oh my God. Oh. Oh. Tattoos and piercings were the first markings for slaves. That was one of the no, not just for slaves. It depends on what culture you're talking about. There were also cultures that used tattoos and piercings to show to show a war, victory in battle. There were tattoos and piercings that were used to grow into your manhood or coming into your manhood when you were younger. Now, if you're talking about how a Israelite can become a slave for life, it was through piercings, but depending on the culture. Okay, so you got a new friend. They're trying to help you. All right, good. Oh, what is it that you want? If you look at my Smoking Phoenix page, Smoking Phoenix cigars, that image of the Phoenix, I originally drew that because I wanted that as a tattoo, but since I wasn't getting it as a tattoo, I went ahead and made it the name of my cigar company. But that Phoenix, I'm Smoking Phoenix, yeah, I drew it, and it got like a sun disk over his head, got an unk at the bottom. If you look at the wings, there's two wings that look like an eye, like a tiger's eye. Now, I had my daughter add the smoke to the mouth of it. And one of my daughter's name is Sydney, by the way. Isn't each Masonic lodge different? Because the ones I hear in Mexico are Klansmen. They shouldn't be. That shouldn't be a constituted lodge of Masons if they're still Klansmen. Now, have there been Klansmen-led Masons? Yes. Masonry has been, like anything, current day culture the culture of the day does dictate some of their mentalities. But those lodges that, if they're ran by Klansmen, they will be deconstituted. They are not constituted lodges anymore. They used to be able to get away with that. During Jim Crow, yeah, they were able to do that, but not anymore. And actually, a big treaty thing was signed a few years ago to really hammer that down. So it's went through its racism as anything else would have. Isn't 33rd degree Jesus' age? Yeah, there are some people who draw that correlation to Jesus' age and the 33rd degree Mason. Is kind of reversed. So the ages, The sun comes into an age at the 30th degree. It goes out of an age at the 33rd degree, right? So that when masonry went from the Egyptian rites into the Solomon rites, and Christianity took over in the 1600s, and then in the 1600s in the Lodge of England, they started relating things more to Jesus. But we've always had the 33rd degree, but it was more of the sun, S-U-N, not Jesus. But Jesus is a sun god anyway. So what's Bohemian Grove? An organization that I would love to become a part of. Bohemian Grove, from my understanding, is a group of the most powerful people in the world who come together in the woods. And during that time frame, they're not supposed to talk about business, but they do. But it's about, they connect with each other and make friendships. But this is where presidents are made, major deals that changes the world economies and laws are made. It's a very powerful organizational group with huge amounts of influence. I don't know all their stuff. I don't think they worship a big ass owl, but it's an interesting thing. Most people won't notice it, but if you drive through downtown Atlanta on the highway, if you look over at the old TBS building, the old Ted Turner building, there's a big fucking golden owl on top of that building, right? It's a small building. It's not that high. It's a big giant owl. Now, of course, they'll tell you that's supposed to keep birds away. You know that doesn't keep any birds away. But Ted Turner, who I believe is a member of Bohemian Grove, he put a big giant golden owl on top of one of his buildings, and it's been there. And most people never notice it. It's funny. I was in the car with a guy. He was a 33rd degree Mason. And I said, "Have you ever noticed that right there?" And he was like, "I'll be damned." But if I was ever offered the opportunity to go to Bohemian Grove, I would go. I'm gonna find. I ain't gonna do anything outside of what I'm willing to do, but I would certainly go. The Bible is a storybook I read and decided to just leave alone for a while. Now I'm trying to find my spiritual path instead. The all Ashe, Asheo. Have you read the Kabbalion, Diana? 3 books that I recommend people read is the Kabbalion. Well, these are 3. Yeah, the Kabbalion, the Emerald Tablets, and Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Of course, if you're going to buy it, I'll put my Amazon link on. Look, I saw your post of read these Zionist protocols, Sailor. Okay, I'm not going back and forth with you. Right? I don't do endless circle things, if you haven't figured that out. Aboriginal Tamarkans had tattoos and jewels on their teeth. Now, I didn't know that about them. That's good. I like when there's something that I can go research myself. I guess it's quoting something from some book, that book. Well, I mark words and symbols that mean a lot to me. Yeah, that's for me to get the Phoenix. What the Phoenix represents to me is the constant rebirth that I take myself through, especially every 10 years. Every 10 years, I take myself through a process of rebirth where I review every aspect of who I've been over the previous 10 years, the good parts and the bad parts, and look to bring myself into a greater version of myself. So that's why I love the Phoenix. Yep, of course I knew that. Say, I was going to say the Bohemian Grove is Satanist. I'm sure everything is Satan, 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 Barney, Satan. I would love to do your tattoo. I saw the image. Depending on where you want it, I don't think it would take multiple sessions. Now I want to do it as a shoulder cap. Is that what they call it? A shoulder cap. Okay, you started good. The Kabbalion is an amazing book. It takes a lot of reads. You got to read it over and over and over again because, like law correspondence, it'll throw you off. You got to reread it. But then when you can put it all together, you have to be able to put all 7 laws together. What island you on, Diana? Why are these island people on here and I'm not on the island? This is some bullshit. Oh yeah, you're gonna have Masonic symbols all over the place. So many of your buildings that people deal with are Masonic buildings that the Masons paid for, or they laid the cornerstone for. Many of your hospitals, Masonic organization provided tons of money for them and built or built them. You know. It can't be racist because the Zionists aren't a race. Jewish isn't a race; it's a culture. So I wouldn't say it's racist. And I think they're just wrong in how what's been happening with the Palestinian. I mean, it's going to go down in history as more than likely as conquest if they win. Yep, Satan, blame everything on Satan. Now I thought a sleeve was the whole arm. I just, like here up. Where are you? Wait a minute, is Diana Nature Island of the Caribbean? Oh yeah, that's right. You in Dominica. You know that the Seminole Indians have land in Mexico. Yep, they dress like Aunt Jemima. It flipped me out. No, I didn't know that. I knew they went out west, but I didn't know they did that. I do want to get to an island. I will go visit some islands, but right now we're gonna hope next year we're gonna do the RV thing at the beginning of 2025 and do that for a number of years, and then we're gonna move get off this land. All right, because Dan, I think you say you're in Dominica. A really good book to read is Fruits from a Poisonous Tree. Okay. Grand Rising, Florence. I just came over a video of you and thought very interesting, so I came. Oh, I appreciate that. Suriname, South Africa. Am I saying that right? Suriname. I've heard that, but I didn't know it was in South America. So this is a country in South Africa. Oh, okay. In South America, I mean. Oh, so you're tropical as well. And you're pretty much below where all the storms go. So that's nice. That's nice. I don't like y'all sometimes. You know that, right? All y'all living in the tropics and it's all beautiful and everything. I'm all up here in Georgia. It's some bull. Between Guyana and French Guyana and Brazil. Just what is this? Like, rub it in my face that it's getting cold up in Georgia, and I got my St. Kitts, I got Dominica, we got South America, my guy in South Africa, they getting ready to go, they in the spring going into summer. Y'all just okay. I see how y'all are today. Grand Rising Saran. Lata. Wait a minute. Who said they can do the tattoo though? Was that Sydney or was that you, Diane? Who does tattoos? Oh, Sydney is a tattoo artist. Where are you, Sydney? If you're still on here, where are you? Right. I just scrolled back up and saw it was Sydney. Who's a tattoo artist? But oh my gosh, you know. See, they asked me about Masons, and we went totally out. So for those who are just joining in, I know y'all saw the title, and we did for the first hour and some change talk about Josephus and break down who he was and why his writing was about a legend version of Jesus is not what he wrote about. He wrote about more of 4 different historical people of Jesus, but it was under the pretext of he was writing for the Roman government. So you had to go to the beginning. As most of our videos, they get, after we finish the subject, we go into almost anything, any kind of subject matter. So that's where we are now, talking about whatever conversation people pop up. At least, let's see, it's almost 2 hours. I try not to go past 3 hours because I do have other things that I need to get done. So we still have another hour and some change to talk about pretty much anything. There are some subject matters, let me preface that. Let me put it, there are some subject matters I just don't bother with too much. You're in Texas, but I travel as well. Where about in Texas? We got some other Texans on here. I know Debbie's in Texas. You know, when I look at a lot of the information on my videos, the analytics, Texas, I get a lot of people from Texas who watch the videos. The video I came across was the one where you explain why you love Christianity. I also feel that way. Too much contradictions. It doesn't make sense to me. No. And that is, yeah, thank you. Thank you for watching that video, and, you know, share the video. Appreciate it if you share it, and share any and all other videos. I greatly appreciate that. Oh, Dallas. Grand Rising Brian W. in Washington State. That's how I know you're Brian Washington. I hope you've been taking my advice, Brian, and taking your father to get the rest of his VA stuff. Y'all started that process. But don't do it through the VA. Use one of the civilian companies. Well, civilian free companies here in Atlanta. There's a place called State VA Conyers. They're not really ran by the state, but it's a good organization that helps people. So see if there's a state VA where you are. I am very adamant about veterans getting what they deserve. But Dallas, Texas. Oh, and you travel? See, then I got to pay for your travel. Then I got to pay for the tattoos. See all that money? I know. But yeah, I had to walk away. The more and more I studied Christianity, the more and more I realized that I couldn't be a part of this. Did Jesus exist at one point in time? Not the Jesus of the Bible, no. But what we were talking about earlier, reverse, is how when you look at the writings of Josephus, especially in regards to Titus, and then when you look at Philo Alexander and his writings in regard to his writings as well, then you see that Jesus is a compilation of the 4 different Yeshua characters that Josephus did write about. The Testimony Flavianus is most likely and definitely a forgery. And then there are other deities that were incorporated, as well as the topographical style of writing that the Jewish people were used to, which means they're going to pull from their Old Testament as well and tell the same story. So as a historical figure, multiple possible people who did go against the Romans, but not the walking on water, healing people. They even took the healing from Serapis and added that to the Jesus story, but not that guy. Somebody getting an Amazon package. I wonder who ordered something from Amazon. I just like when I ask a simple question and people who are devoted Christians go get defensive and worked up, telling me I lack understanding and just need Jesus. That is because they cannot answer your question. So when Christians can't answer it, they're taught and trained to say that a person who doesn't understand it the same way they do, they're lacking the Holy Spirit. Or like yesterday, I was explaining to the young man who was on the podcast yesterday that the other thing is to say that they're not true Christians, because they'll even do it to their own people who claim to be of the same religion, but have a different view of it and say, well, you're not a true Christian, because each one of them believe that they are the true ones. But when they can't handle the information, can't go against it, they run. Or that church hurt bullshit. I hate the church hurt because I was never church hurt. I was church disappointed in the information, disappointed on the lack of study, the lack of understanding. I was disappointed in that, but not hurt. You was into the stream yesterday with the young man with all the books. Yeah, he was on here for a few minutes where he was like in the chat. The more and more I see the characteristics of God in the Bible and Quran, the more and more I see that the characteristics of man. Yeah, and the Quran and the Bible is very man. And all these religions, really, most of them who have these anthropomorphized deities, they're humanized. They have the same characteristics as we do, because that's how they're writing them. That's their perspective. The only way they can write them. But then you see the narcissistic, tyrannical attitudes of them. It's like, no, that can't be a God. That can't be the God that genocides people. Then they say, well, it's God. He can do whatever he wants to his creation. That means I can do whatever I want to my child. No. And a lot of them do lack emotional control. It's true, man, coach. My dad was a coach, my man. And that's hard when your parents were Christians, were a pastor. I remember helping this one guy, and then I just recently found out that I was kind of duped into it. I usually would not go and attack someone who is a pastor, but I found out that when I did help somebody and I thought that we were just helping their father to understand why he's walking away from Christianity, but as it turns out, he purposely set it up to try to invade the church. And when I found that out, I was pissed. But that was a hard conversation because, the pastor wants his children to stay within the religion. And that's a hard one to deal with. And you used to be a pastor? As far as I ever got was being a pastor over the teen pastor, the youth pastor. And even then, I wouldn't let them call me that. I was like, no, I'm the youth deacon. I'm the youth deacon. What's up, King Sale? Grand Rising. They say they are the light, but still do crazy shit. Yeah, and then when they do the crazy shit, they say, well, I'm only human. But as pastor, here's the thing. And I was a big stickler for it when I was in the church. I would tell them, say, hold on. The pastor, these are the requirements of a pastor and a deacon and of their wife, right? I don't want to hear shit about you're only human. This is what you're supposed to be. Otherwise, you're not a pastor. And that was one reason why I always refused to be a pastor, because when they wanted to make me a pastor, when they wanted to, the church wanted, funny thing, I think Diana, they wanted to, oh, and Debbie, where are you in Texas? How close are you to Dallas, Texas, Debbie? They wanted to send me to the Dallas Seminary and give me a scholarship to go there. And I was just like, hell no. Because I know me. I am not upholding this. I didn't even want to be a deacon. And I told him I didn't want to. But the pastor at the time was like, I need your help to run the church. Just to run the church. The organization of the church is what I need. I don't need you to do all the other deacon things. I was like, I'm not going to visit the sick and shut in. It was a Baptist church. I'm not visiting the sick and shut in. I'm not going to hospitals. I'm not praying for people. I'm not doing all this stuff. So, but I'll help you run the church. And only because I like the guy. I like the guy, and my kids were there. So I wanted to make sure there wasn't nothing crazy going on with my children. There are more people killed in the name of Jesus than saved by Jesus. I don't know. Depends on what you categorize as saved. A Christian said that all Christians gonna be saved at the end, but as far as their lives changing, it depends. I wasn't officially a pastor, but I've done missionary trips, preached. I'm really good at public speaking. I had to let it go. I'm with you. I did a few missionary trips. The only missionary trip that I didn't really mind was when we went down to New Orleans and tore down a lot of those houses that were abandoned after Katrina. I didn't mind those. But some of those other ones, I was like, I can't. And it hurt me real bad one time when I was speaking. The person who was supposed to speak didn't. He was late, and I spoke. And then people came and gave their life to Jesus. And I was like, this ain't what I'm here for. Okay, so you're close to Amarillo, which don't tell me nothing. But I was just seeing if you and Diana were close to each other. Because she's in Dallas. Wait a minute. No, Sydney is in Dallas. Sydney is in Dallas. Sorry. Studying for psychology now, which is based on philosophy. I love it just a little bit about me. Okay. Actually, philosophy was my second major. I never finished, but I read where Christians will not enter heaven. Where did you read that? That would be interesting. Actually, if you went by what the Bible actually says, I don't accept, what's the word I want to use here? A phrase. If you went by what the Bible says, the majority of people who claim Christianity will not enter into heaven. They won't. Because one, most of them don't really believe in the religion that they're claiming. They don't. Most of them don't believe in Jesus. The Paul guy said that once you become a believer in Christ, you become a new creature. And it's a renewing of your mind and all this sort of thing. That those things that you were doing before, you won't do. It says to study and show yourself approved. They don't study. They're still out here doing the same stuff. Just like we went yesterday, one of the things that we looked at when we was first talking about how the Bible don't like women before we even got there. A lot of these Christian women, they don't submit to their husband. They're not silent in the churches. They're wearing, they're not wearing modest clothes. They're wearing jewelry. They're wearing elaborate hairstyles. They're not upholding to what, and all of that was just in the New Testament. They're not upholding what this book says that they are to do. And if you become a new creature, then it's based on the Bible, that new mind and new creature changes how you live your life and changes how you are. And it's telling you how you are to be if you become this new creature, in Jesus. So since they're not being that new creature, how are they're not real Christians. This is the not real Christians. They are not upholding the law, because Jesus said that I come not to take away, destroy the prophets or take away from the law, but to fulfill it, and that not one tittle shall be taken away. So they're sitting on the same bed as their wife when she goes through cycles. They're not polygamous, which they should be. I'm gonna do a video about polygamy later today because I found this other funny video that I'm gonna use for it. They're not keeping the feast days. They're not keeping the Sabbath. There's a lot of things that they don't do that a new creature in Christ should be doing. They're not doing it. There are men who are beating their wives. You know, it says, love your wife as Christ loved. Love your wife as you love yourself, basically. For I know not a man that hated his own flesh, you know. And these men are supposed to be sacrificial, and a lot of them are not. You know, pastors are only supposed to be the husband of one wife, and deacons are only supposed to be the husband of one wife. But when you have sex with another woman who is not wedded, then that woman becomes your wife. They're not doing that. They're committing adultery left and right. But according to this book, only a woman can commit adultery, is the way it would seem, even though a man can commit adultery when he has sex with another man's wife or a woman who's been betrothed to somebody else. And daughters will still be betrothed. So, no. These jokers ain't going nowhere. Is it the power of belief that helps the drug addicts or criminals that causes them to change their lives after accepting religion? And that, I will give you that. When I see a guy who's been a criminal, and then they go and they become Christian or Muslim, and then the power of that belief changed their life and they're not a criminal anymore, I want them to keep that damn religion. Stop being a menace to society. But it is the power of belief. That's the thing. It wouldn't matter. Every religion can say that they've got people who converted they changed their lives because of their religion. But when you really nail it down, it's the belief in their own mind. They could believe in the spaghetti monster on Saturn and change their life. What they really should understand is that the true belief is within themselves. One of the things that has bothered me over the years, giving all the glory and credit to a God whenever something good happens or one achieves a goal one has worked hard for, while denying the free choice of one to work and sacrifice to achieve those goals. Yes, that bothers the shit out of me. What does Snoop Dogg say? First, I want to thank me. I want to thank me for all the hard work that I put in. I want to thank me for not giving up. I refuse to give some deity credit for the hard work that I put in. Like, I refuse to give a deity the credit for all the studying that I've done over these 40 years, to be able to have these conversations with y'all. That was my thoughts, my study, my work, my reading, my listening, before the internet, sending off for information to be sent from me from different colleges and seeking out archaeologists and all these people's writing letters and all that. That was me, my work, not some deity. It's the power of cause and effect. Oh, Christian is going to get mad when you tell him that one. I don't know a Christian that follows the scripture. They just claim that they believe. That's why they're exactly. Most of them do. And then let me tell you a fun. I'll sit in a cigar lounge, and a guy will be like, "I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian," but then turn around and say, "I'm a habitual adulterer," and smile and laugh and think it's funny. I'm like, "You going to hell?" I told him one couple times, "You going to hell? You gonna be in hell with me, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. We're gonna be in hell, but you're gonna like my hell because it's gonna be a party in hell." All right. If we are so, if we are so made in the image and his likeness, then there is a new creature to become. Like you said, Coach, we have discernment. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. Live humble and in love. Yeah. And I don't want to be made in the image of their God. Their God is a genocidal maniac. Their God killed, what's his name? Uriah, whatever his name was. Keep forgetting his name just because he wouldn't ejaculate in his brother's widow. Like, I don't want to be like that cruel bastard, killing babies, genociding places. Why would I ever want to be like that? I'm made in the image of my mother and father and all the ancestors that came before me, and then my environment and my own thought process created me. 25% of me is genetics. The rest of me is environment and how I perceive my environment and made it my own personal adjustments and decisions. Grand Rising Marcus. Christians that judge people are the same Christians that have tattoos all over their body. They don't even know that tattoos is against their God. And that's true. In Christianity, they wouldn't have any tattoos. And if you had one and you were Christian and you got it before you were Christian, you would have it removed. You know, they wouldn't have piercings and they wouldn't have tattoos, but they do. And they're going to get more and more of them. If you want to know what really gossiping is all about, go to church. Oh boy, they do some serious gossiping. How do you use the will or belief to change vibrations? The long answer to that, matata, would be to go back and watch the video, the live on Monday, because I think the live on Monday, we just talked about the Hermetics. We delved deep into the Kabbalion and the Hermetics. And the longer explanation would be go to the YouTube playlist and look at all the videos from the Kabbalion. Now, the short version for this video would be how do you use the will or belief to change the vibration? So first, you have to identify what the actual pole is that you're dealing with. What is it that you're actually dealing with, right? Let's say it is, because money is easy to count. I like money. Now, let's use relationships because that's easy too. Let's say it is your relationship with someone, that a romantic relationship. But this works for any relationship. So you identify that it's not so much the relationship as much as it is the emotion, the emotional connection. At the far right, there is deep connection, or what we may call in love. At the far left, there is hate. You figure out where you are on that scale of love and hate. Now, in your mind, you have to realize what is it that creates those connections and reverse engineer it. So if creating those connections is time spent, is intimacy, it's words of appreciation and affection, it's gifts, it's travel, whatever those things that creates the deeper connection between you and that person. I'm gonna go a little bit different than just what the five love languages. Then you look at what is it that distracts you from being that person to them. What you're doing that's pulling you away, that's lowering your vibration to being that person for them, for creating that vibration in the situation. You then have to mentally, once you understand that, what those things are, you now know what the pathway is. Now mentally, you have to set up reminders, do whatever is necessary. Like, I'm not good at giving gifts, so I will put in my calendar when I'm going to give a gift, because that's not something I'm good at if I'm dealing with someone who loves gifts. So I put things in place to create the action, but also to create the mental reminder. And by doing that, over time, it becomes my hypnotic rhythm. It becomes my habit to do those things. If I need to remind myself to buy flowers, remind myself to give massages, remind myself to take walks, to write letters, whatever it is that I don't do naturally, that moves me towards the higher vibration of that relationship, then I set up reminders and systems, put those in place so that my mind can start getting it. Because the more and more I do it, my mind is going to start just doing it on its own. Once I get, and then that increases because my will to do it is what's going to cause me to set up the reminders, because I have that desire for it. And then I train my will to do it. And then that'll increase your vibration. And that can be with money, with a budget. Like, one of the things I got to do today, which I'm going to definitely do, don't be looking like that, Angelina. Don't be looking like that. Yes, I got stuff on my calendar. Don't be looking like that. But one of the things that I do Then, like, one of the things I have to do today, I have to go over my budget. I have to go over my budget. I'm hell or high water, I'm going over my budget today. Right. That is because the pole of finances, since my picture, since how my finances are coming in now has somewhat changed, I need to reevaluate my budget and get things in so that everything vibrates more towards the right. We can't do no low vibration, which also means I have to change my mindset because my budget previous to shutting down the cigar lounge, I made money every day. Now I'm in a position where I don't make money every day. I got set days that I get paid. And so I have to take a different approach to how I do my finances. Bless family, enjoy the reasoning as usual. Listen from Tottenham. Tottenham. Hey, Grand Rise, I ain't seen you in a minute. Yeah, it's the law of attraction, but you got to have all the hermetic laws working. You got to get the balance of the masculine and the feminine energy to the nurturing and the instruction to work in kind with as much as they need. Also, being involved in this situation, like when you're dealing with finances, some of the nurturing is to be able to say no to yourself and to no to others in order to manage your finances correctly. What do you think is the craziest conspiracy theory someone had about you, whether it had to do with Christianity, Freemason, or business? Probably that I'm an agent. That I was an agent set to disrupt the people. Sent to disrupt the people is probably the craziest one. I never had many conspiracies about me though, but mostly that I'm an agent, because I think that's more than the ones who say I'm an apostate. Because I say, I want to build a Black America and then create Pan-Africanism with the African countries that are growing and the Caribbean countries that are growing and South American countries that are growing, and their independence and is based on raising the finances of Black people. Now, I think everybody's finances should be raised, don't get me wrong. But of course, the Western world is so racist that the only way we can, we are learning and getting better at defeating more and more racism as each generation comes. But economic parity is going to be a big part of ending racism. Oh, I've seen them, because they'll say, don't talk bad about the prophets. You ain't supposed to talk bad about the preacher because he sent them bears to kill them children, and they'll justify it. No audio. Now, that might be your side of the fence because the other people on YouTube can hear me. You can't go to a new earth with low vibration. I'm with you. You can't. You got to have a high vibration, otherwise the mess don't work. You said something yesterday that was very profound, yet probably overlooked by your guest. You said Scripture should be able to stand on its own. I would wholly agree with that. I cannot stand when they jump from book to book to book and verse justifying. You're right. It should be able to stand by itself. You shouldn't need all them other things. The only reason I'm not a 33rd degree Mason because I refuse to pay for it. I am not giving them $1,500 right now in my life. I might do it at one point, but not right now. But yeah, I've had them. This is even before I wouldn't even tell people that I was a Mason, because I know how sensitive people get all about it, and all of a sudden your whole credibility is gone because you are a Mason. And then I started thinking, like, why do I give a shit about what they think? Because no matter what I affiliate myself with, can you destroy the information that I'm providing? Can you counteract the information? And That's what everything is purely about. I'm sure, Grand Rising Tracy, there are if there are aspects of everybody on here that I'm not going to like, and that includes you too, Angelina. But there are aspects of everybody on here that I'm not going to like, and there are aspects of me that you're not going to like. But if you're saying something that's true, it doesn't matter if I like you or not, right? The video I did yesterday or the day before where I said that this is, I usually don't agree with Candace Owens, but this is one thing that her and I agree on. There were people in the comments saying that, oh, I'll never agree with anything on her. But you agree with that statement, so you do agree with her, right? Everybody there, I don't know if there's a person who's totally disagreeable. You got mass murderers in prison, but they love their children. And let somebody come into that prison who abused children, they will want to kill that person, you know? So, you know, I used to not say anything about it. So I haven't had anybody say that about me about as far as the adding the Masonic part. No, Dr. Umar Johnson, I don't know, man. I'm not so sure about him yet. Yeah, the class wars have been going on forever, but I just want to try to get it as balanced as we possibly can. Oh, thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. Plus, I just think that, like, if the MAGA people really believe in making America great, I don't know about again, because it's never been great for my ancestors, but a great America would be the sense of America providing an opportunity for everybody to gain, not still having laws in place that prevents poor people from getting out of their situation. You don't steal red line areas. You want people to buy their houses and own their houses. You want there to be so few apartment complexes because most people are buying their homes. But America doesn't do that. It wants to keep the gap. Yeah, Albert Pike did give Masons a bad name. Yeah, Albert Pike did. Yeah. He got some things that are good, but most of the stuff is like, ugh. Yesterday, dude on the show said he'd give his daughter to the rapist if God said it. That's actually, I'm going to take that part and clip that into a video by itself because I just couldn't believe that shit. That he would, I was like, I know he's going to say no, he wouldn't. I was sitting here like, he's going to say no. He's not going to say he would do that. I just knew he was going to say no. And that joker said, yeah. I was like, what the hell? Like, you got to be kidding me. I had to restrain myself. Like, literally, y'all don't know, or maybe you saw it in my face, but I literally had to restrain myself because the more aggressive part of me really wanted to come out because I got two daughters. And even if I didn't have two daughters, I got a mother, I got sisters, I got nieces and you know, female cousins. Yeah. And I have family members who have been molested like that. Shit. And I've told you that before. When I was a child, I was myself. And then most women that I know have went through some type of molestation. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It took a lot for me to restrain myself. And I just wanted, like, okay, let me see if I can just talk to this young man about this mindset. But that was just, oof. But I think if it honestly happened that I don't think he could have all the visions and all the people in the world can come talk to him. That man is going, I don't think he would actually do that. Because his first response was he was going to hurt that man. He would hurt that man. Say our African ancestors turned in their grave. Oof, boy, I tell you. To me, voting is an illusion. Pretty much. You know, whoever's going to be president next time, it's already chosen. Have I ever heard Jordan Peterson when he tries to prove the Bible is hilarious? I think I have. That name sounds familiar. So I'll look the name up. righteous anger. I think I don't. I got to look at it again to see how I handle it. I'm sure, but you know, I try to attack. Okay, so there was this book I read a long time ago, and this is actually one of the ways I raise my children, and the way I manage people. And when I was anytime I've been a manager, oh damn, the name of the book just fell out my head. Oh, the 1 Minute Manager. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the book, The 1 Minute Manager, but basically the concept is uplift the person, criticize the activity, and then uplift the person again. So I try to go through that process with people. That's why you heard me say, I know you're a smart, intelligent young man. You have higher, and smart, intelligent young man. And then it's like, let me correct that mindset. And I know you have more morals than these people. I try to uplift the person, but then criticize the behavior. That's been I think that's one of the reasons why my kids turn out the way that they are, because without having low self-esteem, because I never criticize them as a person, just the behaviors. So that's how I've always managed people, and I've always gotten the best out of people with that process. Grand Rising Ron. I understand, Sheila. I understand. Shook my soul too. I don't care what God says. I'm fighting back. I'll fight Jehovah and Moses on a 2-on-1 match. That's right. I'm coming out the turnbuckle. Jimmy Superfly Snooker right on that joker. Remember he was saying this symbol right here? You remember Jimmy Superfly Snooker used to do that? Now look, damn, I know I showed my age on that one. Look at the Iceman Killer. He was like a hitman. He killed almost a half a dozen people and had a whole family with a wife and 5 kids. So yeah, they are criminals and they're killers. Yeah, they're criminals and they kill their. I don't know who this Iceman Killer is. I never heard of him, but I do know of people like that. And I've read the stories about people like that. Yeah, and basically he said, person who rapes a baby, they deserve forgiveness. That these people deserve some forgiveness. That's going to be the finite part of my brain. There are some crimes that are unforgivable, right? Isn't that funny though? In the Bible, they say that blasphemy against the Holy Spirit is the only unforgivable sin. Every other sin is forgivable. Genociding people, forgivable. Raping babies, forgivable. Sacrificing babies, forgivable. Beating women, stoning people, forgivable. All these things forgivable. But that is not. All these things that warrant the death penalty. But the only thing that's unforgivable is blasphemy. Really? That's some bullshit. Oh yeah, gonna fight, Brian. Also look at Scarface. What about Scarface? I mean, I love the movie. It's long as shit. Oh, Scarface, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, he loved his sister, loved his mom, but this dude was ruthless. All right, get back to work, King Sale. What kind of work you do? I want to know what kind of work all y'all do, actually. We might be able to help each other. There might be somebody that y'all can help each other, work with each other. And Christian, we got to do that podcast. I keep forgetting, sir. I haven't been working on that page. That's probably why I keep forgetting. I haven't done anything to that page. The leaders and the bankers run us. We try to change things, but nothing will ever happen until we come together. But as long as people don't understand, it doesn't matter what party you are, and with party you are with, they're all ran by the same people. Ever wonder why regular people never allowed to get into those seats? Yeah, if you don't play the political game and the economic game, you're not going to get in there. That is why the game that I have to trick people into through their own selfishness to create a better society. Right? Literally, if I can convince 76% of the people of color to move to the Southeast, and then we can control the Southeast, and then we control our own economy. But it has to be something in it for them. The only time they use Jew or Christian term is when they want to team up against an alien. Yeah. Oh, my shoulder is killing me. So Christian is a custom painter. Jose works in refrigeration. Sharon is UPS driver. Grand Rising Dwayne, mobile security, oil and gas industry, ex-Army, armor recon. Okay. So Army reconnaissance. All right, Ron. Refrigeration cannabis grow. Where you in New Mexico? Right, Jose? I might need to talk to you. I don't smoke weed, but I do have a plan of building a becoming a grower. Look, there's some good money that right there. Builder, medical records. I'm in compliance with the insurance company. I'm studying banking and financing right now. Oh yeah, banking and financing. There's some money into that one. Tracy, singer, writer, poet. All right now. Like I do believe that within our own groupings, if we can figure out if we can connect with each other and help each other, that's how we grow. And everybody needs to grow financially. Insurance, you tell everybody we're hiring. Yeah. And I know UPS, they pay well and got good benefits. I'm a horrible employee, but I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I would go work for Buc-ee's though. I love Buc-ee's. And their pay is crazy, for what you're doing. A carpenter, cabinet, resurfacer, and maker. All right. Because when we have business discussions, because we will start having more business discussions as well, because we do have to grow economically in order to. Let me tell you something. There's nothing worse than a person who is deconstructed from religion and you're broke, because they're going to be able to blame that. They're going to blame your brokenness on you walking away from their God. Even though they can go through the same stuff and have the same issues, God is just taking them through a time, through a season, as they like to say. So that's why we will do some shows on business and we'll talk about economics, because we have to be you ain't got to be rich, but financially stable. Otherwise, it gives them their out, and I don't want them to have any outs. The Bible spell book. The brothers you had on the other day was still brainwashed by the religion because to say you would give your dog. All right. I told him he had some serious cognitive dissonance. Oh yeah, Buc-ee's. Look, the closest Buc-ee's to me is an hour away, and me and Andrew will take a special drive just to go to Buc-ee's. We ain't going nowhere else. We just going to Buc-ee's. That's it. We just going to Buc-ee's. There's nothing in Daresville that we want to go see. We're just going to Buc-ee's. All right, we got to think outside the box these days, and we got to get that stuff done. Accounting and real estate. Yeah, I let my real estate license go. That's not for me. I thought it was because I know I can sell, but it's kind of like when I had a what do you call it? And when I had an event coordinating company, them damn humans got on my nerves. And selling houses, them humans were getting on my nerves. Believe in Jesus Christ. He has nothing to do with religion. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. The religion is Jesus Christ. You have rituals. There is a belief system. It's Jesus. That is, see, that's a new thing that they came out. Oh, it's about relationship. No, it's a religion. You got all the trappings of religion. If it is believe in Jesus Christ, then get rid of all the 501c3s. It's a religion. Get rid of all your rituals. Get rid of your Eucharist. Get rid of all the ways that you're supposed to live your life. You know, you should be able to dress how you want to dress. You know, as far as like when it talks about women, you should be able to do all those things if it's not a religion. It is a religion. All the way through. Grand Rising Wade, because I'm in Canada, let's think cross-border shit. You got to need hockey putts or maple syrup. I don't need any hockey putts, but some maple syrup, I'm with you. I can get down on some maple syrup. Yes, these humans, that's what, when they get on my nerves, that's what they are, these humans. North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, and every time I pass a bucket, I have to stop. Man, what you talking about? I love going to see Angie's parents because we get to stop at Buc-ee's on the way and on the way back. I like them too, but Buc-ee's. Ever heard of Dutco? I don't know what Dutco is. I'm going to need some help with more business because I got 8 more years of UPS and then I'm going to retire. Hey, man, those 8 years, you'll be surprised how quickly those 8 years will go by. And if you're not prepared to do what's next, then it's not going to work. See? And when a Christian can't refute what you're saying, they come with an insult. Stay off your crack. Jesus never made religion. Yes, he did. Real Christians, there we go. Didn't I just tell y'all? What do they say? What do they always come with? Real Christians don't do rituals. You talking about other religions called Catholics. And they always, and what did we do yesterday? They always want to blame the Catholics. Yeah. Y'all still have y'all Eucharist. Y'all still do the blood and the wine. I mean, the bread and the wine. Y'all still do that. Come on, man. Y'all still talk about how people supposed to dress and how you're supposed to pray and all that. Just admit that it's a religion. Ain't nothing wrong. Look, if you're in a religion, there's nothing wrong with being in a religion, man. That's what you like. Have your religion. I know religion has gotten a bad name, a bad rap over the last 20 years, but just do your religion. You got, like my man said, you got Easter, you got Christmas, you know, you got Passover. You know, do your religious thing. Don't be ashamed of it. Kanye, I mean, sorry. Don't be ashamed of it. You know, just walk in it. Embrace it. You should be mad at those people who have messed up your name religion, the title religion. Because you are bound by your belief in Jesus, which religion comes from the word, what is it, regale, something like that. I know I'm saying it wrong. Which means to bind. All right, you doing your rituals? Shit, I do rituals. I wake up in the morning, I got a morning ritual. I get up and I sit on the edge of the bed and I think for a few minutes. That's a ritual. I brush my teeth every morning. That's a ritual. Thank you. Religare. Sometimes I got to see the word. Yes, Buc-ee's, baby. Buc-ee's, Crystal. Yes. Yeah. Religion means vice, to bind. Jesus is against religion. Where? He was against the current version of the Jewish religion, but he was not against religion. See, that's what see, nobody calls y'all on that. He was against the Jewish religion of the day, according to your story. But he wasn't against religion because he created one that had his own and had rituals. Do this in remembrance of me. As often as you do this in remembrance of me. When you pray, you should pray like this. Religion. Oh, and I didn't even read your next sentence. You can never show me anywhere where Jesus promoted religion or rituals. And I just did. The whole bread and wine. The whole way you pray. I should be mad at people for lying on Jesus, the only recorded perfect man. Actually, if you was watching this video from the very beginning, you will see that there is no such recording of Jesus other than outside of your Bible. And then this Bible was created based on the writings of previous deities as well, and the Old Testament, and then Josephus, Philo, and one of the, I forgot which Herod it was. So yeah, no. Oh, I am a straight up Bucky enthusiast. I am. Well, every time I go, I take pictures, and don't let the Bucky's mascot be there. Oh, we about to get it. I'm like a big ass kid. I'm like, where's the Bucky mascot? I be buying sweatshirts with Bucky's. Love me some Bucky's. Oh, Crystal didn't know what Bucky's was. Oh, girl, Crystal, you gotta go. Where you live, Crystal? I know you told me before. Where you live? Some Catholic churches celebrate Passover. Yeah. Do you think Christians wouldn't be as big if it wasn't for the Catholics? Not so much Catholics, but more Romans. I mean, I know that they became the Catholics, but if it wasn't for Constantine, and it wasn't so much making Christianity legal in the Edict of Milan, but holding the Nicene Council and supporting Christianity, the Orthodox Christianity, with the Roman government, and then about 60 years later with Theodosius, making Rome a Christian, making Rome, all of Rome Christian. If it wasn't for that, then no, Christianity would have died out. It would have died out in the same way Mithra, or we might all be worshiping Mithra. People, we be on here talking about Mithra right now. But yeah, if it wasn't for that, then Christianity would not have survived, most likely. No Christian, man, I just told you what the rituals are. Now, if you don't want to accept it, that's fine. You don't have to accept it, you know. See, I see your ignorance and your folly. You do not know Jesus, but only heard of him through those who hate Jesus. First of all, I studied it, and I used to be one. I used to preach it. So, yeah, no, sir. You're not going to win with that one, because now you're making claims about me to which you don't know me. You know, you find me one day and be like, I know who this guy is, but that's making an assumption. And when you make an assumption, you make an ass of you and me. But in this case, not me, because I will fight against your assumptions, sir. You do rituals. You just don't want to admit it. And that's fine. If you have cognitive dissonance about it, that's perfectly fine. Doug Coe was the leader that was the leader of what's known as the family. The National Prayer Breakfast was started by the family, whose agenda was to bring together church and state through the Christian Coalition and the Federalist Society. Oh, shit. That would be interesting. I can do some research on it. Have you seen the film, The Book of Eli? Oh, yeah. I've seen that a couple times. And that's a good movie. Remember the scene where when he said that it's not just a book, but a weapon to gain control of the minds of the weak and the desperate. Exactly. Jesus tore down the temple. He told us not to make any idols and graven images. Jesus and the Christ is God. First of all, Jesus didn't tear down the temple. The temple was torn down by Titus, to which Titus had gave that order. There are many other things. If you was at the beginning of this video, you will see that the story of Jesus mimics the conquest of Jerusalem by Titus when he was fishing. He was a fisher of men in Galilee, pulled up all the fruit trees and so on and so forth. And the no graven images actually was something that was first written down in Exodus in the original 10 Commandments, and then those 10 Commandments were destroyed, and then he wrote a brand new 10 Commandments. So it wasn't Jesus that said anything about making idols or graven images. That was Moses. You might want to go read your book again. The global, and I already know they're gonna say, well, God told Moses, and Jesus was God and is God. So I already know what your response to that one is gonna be. Is global not just here in the States? Okay, didn't know that. Yeah, the Spanish Inquisition. There's a whole bunch of Christians killing Christians. Oh yeah, you're in New Jersey. I think they are building some. There are some Bucky's that are up in that way. I know they're in Virginia. I think. I'm pretty sure. I practiced native spirituality after 40 years of Christian program. Found the real deal. I don't worship. I commune with. And you're in Canada, so is it? What native is which native spirituality is that? Ah, there go the other one. I forgot. You never was a Christian. Don't be a liar. You were in a religion. You went to church, a building with a cross. You were in religion. Shaking my head. You are not a Christian. That's the other one that they always say, because their book says that if a person was ever filled with the Holy Spirit, then they can never lose that, right? I guess that, they become under the mind control of the Holy Spirit, and that brainwashing sets in. But you have no idea, sir, of how much I desired and wanted and practiced this religion. That I was better than most apologists, in my heyday of Christianity, of defending Christianity. But the more and more I studied, the more and more I realized it wasn't. So you can say that, but that's just y'all out, because you can't break the information. You cannot deny the information. So you have to say these little things like, you were never a Christian, you never had the Holy Spirit. That's because that's the only way that break my information. Break my information. Compare the angles of Titus compared to your Jesus book, your Bible. Break the information. Compare the writings of Philo to the book of Matthew. Compare them. Compare Josephus to your Bible. Compare them. Find me any other historical data that proves that Jesus existed, other than the 4 different Jesuses that Josephus talked about, but they were 4 different people. Prove it. Break the information. If your Bible, if your God is so right, break the information. Have you ever did a lesson on Serapis worship? Serapis worship? No, and not a full, just he's been part of other discussions, but not a full. And that would be an interesting one. Christian and Christianity are 2 different things. Christian means follower of Jesus and Christ. Christianity is paganism mixed in with Christian ideology. They're not the same. So do you keep the law? Do you keep the Old Testament laws? Because your Jesus said that I come not to destroy the prophets or the Old Testament. I will take not one tittle from this book, but he came to fulfill it. Do you keep the law? It used to say that the greatest commandment is to love the Father and keep his commandments. Do you keep his commandments? Do you keep them? Because that's what him said. Do you keep them? I love these people. They are so amusing to me. Northern Plain Creek. Is that Creek or Creek? But Creek, yeah, because the Creek went out to like Oklahoma. Right, yes, Serapis was before Jesus. Serapis was during the time frame of the Greeks when they controlled the Levant and Egypt. Oh yeah, see, Spanish Wars and Knights Templars, they weren't not Christian because he was there, y'all. He was there. And that's one thing that always interests me about Christians, because if you went back 200-300 years ago in America, those Christians who owned slaves would have said that they were Christians. But people today would say they weren't. If you go back to the Spanish Inquisition, you would say those people weren't Christian. If you go back to any time frame in the past, people of today always say those people weren't Christian. It is an interesting thing in religion that the people of the day always think the people in the past weren't real Christians or real Indus people or real Muslims or real whatever. It's always the people of today have a better understanding, because these religions are culturally based. They're all based on culture. None of them are they don't base it on the actual writings of the book that they follow, which they can't, because you're not going to follow the cultural rituals of a time frame that most of their stuff will be illegal today. Most of it will be illegal. It's just like our guy yesterday. According to this book, your daughter's raped. She got to marry her rapist, if he pays the father 50 pieces of silver. As long as she's not betrothed to anybody else. We know that would not happen today. That would be illegal. A lot of the animal sacrifices, illegal. Yeah, to Christians, all religions are pagan, but the Christian religion is pagan to other religions. So all of them are pagan. I work with orgon and Keisho plasma energy and do some wild stuff, geoengineering and countermeasure. All right, man. That sounds interesting. Are there any historians writing at the time of Jesus about him? No. And there were at least 125 different historians in the Levant area who were alive during the time of Jesus, and not one of them wrote about Jesus. Not one. Ethiopia. Ethiopia is evidence of Jesus, the Christ before any Romans. That is absolutely not true, sir. The Ethiopian church did not form until 330 CE. And that is because they wanted to have closer relationship with Rome, who had made Christianity legalized and had had the Nicene Council. So no, it was brought there by a shipwrecked Christian priest out of Egypt. So no, and your story in Acts of the eunuch that was reading Isaiah and then took it back to Ethiopia is a made up story, because there were no Christian churches in Ethiopia during that time frame. There were Jewish people in Ethiopia before Christianity, but there were no Christians in Ethiopia before 330 CE. Those that cannot or will not discern the facts usually relegated to violence in their effort to prove their righteousness or their superiority. Just look at Palestine right now. Yeah, the only way they can do it is through violence or aggravation. Mamba. The opening of the 10 Commandments, 10 words, was addressed to those freed from Egypt, Hebrew. Why do Christians think the commandments are African? Because they are similar to I see what you're saying. Because the majority of their laws the majority of the 10 Commandments are closer to the laws of Ma'at or the Code of Hammurabi. So that's where that thought process is coming from. You're right, though. Those first ones are all about the egotism of this God. Have no God before me, keep my Sabbath, all this stuff. They're about the ego of this God and forcing the worship. But the rest of it is where that's come from. All of them aren't from the Confessions of Ma'at. Yeah, first he goes, so you see how the contradiction in his statement, you were there. So what I'm saying is invalid, because he's questioning if, since I wasn't there, then there is no way that I could know, and who am I to say so. But then he says history shows they were not Christians. Christian means followers of Jesus Christ. Templar Knights and the other alike did not follow Jesus. So you weren't there, so your history don't mean anything. You weren't there either. So what validates your history? You see what I'm saying? See how that's an illogical way of making that statement, instead of just providing your historical accounts that prove what you're saying. But you can't prove the level of belief of the people of the Knights Templars. The Knights Templars believed that they were Christian. You know, the whole formation of the Knights Templar were poor knights who provided escorts to people going from Europe to the Levant on missionary trips or on Hajjs. So that was their whole thing. But then they grew in money. They built a banking system, and they grew in money and power. And then the Pope was their friend, but the King of France owed them money and wanted them to be destroyed. And then that's why the Knights Templar were destroyed. And they made up a bunch of lies saying that they were doing this and doing that. And it has been proven that the King of France lied about the things that they were doing, you know, in order to absolve himself from a debt that he owed to the Knights Templars. But see, you don't want to hear any of that. You just want to keep believing whatever it is that you want to believe, even though history has shown that. And they're going to say, do your research. This is why Christians stay stuck in these religions, because they refuse to actually do research. They only research what fits their paradigm. I'm going to leave this guy alone. I mean, you've shown me that you're not intelligent enough to have a, well, I ain't going to say that. You've shown that you're not mentally open enough to have a conversation. Your Proverbs said they keep changing the codex. Yeah, the Bible keeps changing. It always changes. It's changed to fit whatever the culture is. And they definitely changed the doctrine. The main thing that's changed is now, more than anything, is the doctrine, which is how they interpret the book. Oh, the Old Testament is pagan. The Old Testament is henotheistic, is polytheistic. Yeah. And a lot of the things that they do, they wouldn't do today. Now, that's a good one there, Kanye. Pagan means star worship. I don't know about that. So how is Christians pagan? So if I took what you were saying, see, then you got to stay off the crack. Why can't Christians have just an intelligent, respectful conversation? Now, did I tell you that you on drugs? Did I call you any names or anything like that, or try to like go at your character as a person? No, I didn't. I haven't. But y'all, the only thing y'all resort to is insults because you can't really attack the information. Now you say, how is Christian pagan? Christianity is filled with all types of astrological things. Here's one. Jesus, where shall we go when you leave us? Find a man carrying a pitcher of water. Into his house we will go. So men back then didn't carry pitchers of water. That's a woman's job, right? So what that is in reference to is the age of Aquarius. We're moving from the age of Pisces, which Jesus represents with all the fish talk, into the age of Aquarius, which is a man pouring out a pitcher of water. It's astrological, it's stars. Jesus mentions he comes in at 30 years old, goes out at 33. The age has changed, and when the sun comes into a zodiac at the 30th degree and then goes out of a zodiac at the 33rd degree, star worship. Oh, 3 wise men, or however many the number, wise men, the Magi followed a star in the east to find the birth of baby Jesus, following a star, astrological. You see what I'm saying? John 1:18. No man have seen God at any time. Exodus 3:11. And Jehovah spoke to Moses face to face as a man speaketh to his friend. Yeah, exactly, King Sale. It's filled with contradictions left and right. You just said 340 AD CE, but you can Google me and find 70 AD is the first Christian church. No, I said 330. Okay, yeah, right. 330 is when Ethiopia converted over to Christianity. You can find 70 AD, the first Christian church in Ethiopia. And I don't mind being wrong. That's the difference between me and y'all. One of the first few Christian churches in sub-Saharan Africa originated before the European colonization of the continent. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tawahedo Church dates back to the acceptance of Christianity by the Kingdom of Axiom in 330 CE and has been 330, the Axiom Empire, when they converted over to Christianity. 330, my guy, not 70. Now, what you're probably leaning on is the fact that according to your story, around 70 AD is when you first had your churches in Egypt. Egypt at this time frame, Egypt and the Axiom Empire are two separate places. And it was the Kush, the Kush, the Axiom, whichever one you want to go about. There's two separate places. So what you're probably thinking about is the first Christian churches that popped up in Egypt was in and around that time. Now, theoretically, according to your story, Mark was the one who went to Egypt and brought that. And as I said, it was a bishop. He wasn't a bishop, but he was a priest out of Egypt that came into the Axian Empire and converted them to Christianity. But that was 330. So you're probably you're thinking about Egypt, not Ethiopia. That's right. Hey, Dwayne, not just she get the barbecue brisket sandwich, but get some, if you like pickles, get some. They have these old snap pickles. Get them pickles and put that on that brisket sandwich. Ooh, it's a good time. There was a historical Jesus like figures who were basically men who were basically enemies in Rome. Yes, you're right. And Josephus speaks about 4 different ones. Yeah. 70 AD in Ethiopia. Look it up, then retract your ignorant statement. Yeah, I think I just did look it up. And no, there's nothing to retract. I think you need to retract your statement. See? There you go. Done it. See, then you got to go. And we just went through the whole Freemason thing. Oh, I can't attack your information, so let me find some other stuff that I can say. What is your understanding and breakdown of Matthew 24, 5 and 8 when Jesus said he was not the Christ? Shit, I got to go and look it up, man. Matthew 24. What do we got here? For many will come in my name, claim that I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of war, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nations will rise up against nations, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines in the earth in various places, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of the plan. Well, I don't see this as Jesus saying that he's not the Messiah. This is just people who would claim that they are followers of Jesus, and that they are claiming that they are the Messiah. Like they will, like David Koresh. Remember David Koresh? David Koresh fits this category. So this is not necessarily Jesus saying that he wasn't the Messiah. I think a more accurate one would be when the Pharisees, when they want to get mad at him because he said that he and the Father are one. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. But in the same chapter, he also tells his disciples that he and they are one as well. So he wasn't meaning one as in unity, the same as this Godfather, but that they are unified in the way that in their mindsets. But this one is more about false prophets who are using the Jesus character and saying that they are that Messiah, like David Koresh. No, it's not so much the secret that the Knights Templars became vilified. It's really because the King of France didn't want to pay his debts. He simply didn't want to pay his debts. How do we know anything Josephus wrote was true? Well, so you do have other Roman writers who wrote about the conquest going through Jerusalem and Vespasian's rise. So, and we do know that Vespasian did become the emperor. We have coins and monuments that they built. Like Vespasian built the Colosseum. Titus built his ark, which on his ark he shows his conquest of Judea. So there is some archaeological evidence that point to the fact that these conquests happened, and they happened in the way that they happened. When you go to Jerusalem, you can see where the Romans tore down the walls throughout Jerusalem when they conquered it. So there's archaeological evidence that would show that these events happened. As far as the 4 different Jesuses, there are other Roman records that show, like Governor Quinius shows records of a Yeshua dude that he had to beat his ass. But and I said earlier that he killed him, but he didn't. He actually freed him, and he didn't crucify that guy. But he did beat him for disruption at the temple. Templars were born out of the need to protect the Jews and Christians on a pilgrimage. Yeah. Yeah, and that's where they came out of. And then, they got rich. And then, they became bankers. Oh, wow. Am I that far behind? Okay. You know what? I've had enough of your name calling, dude. I don't do name calling, okay? You don't know how to be respectful, so you gone. We don't do name calling. So you out of here. Right. I always thought pagan meant country dweller too, because they have educational arguments at. Yeah. Am I that far behind, y'all? 3 wise men is the belt of Orion, the belt of Asar. But yes, they are. Which points to the star Sirius, which used to be called the constellation of Aset. And the star Sirius was her womb. And on the 25th of December, the belt of Asar points to the womb of Aset, which points to where the sun will be born, which is Hebrew. Yeah, you got some old comments up here, but I just blocked you off my channel. I ain't got time for you to be sitting up here. You can't speak to somebody intelligently, then you need to go somewhere. Right, 7 AD is when they destroyed it. Yeah, we talked about that in the very beginning. Yeah, they went to Egypt to learn about Freemasonry. Sure did, because Joseph was a Freemason. He was of the craft, the Masonic craft guild. Yeah, and after 7 AD, they were expelled from Judah. This is where that Deuteronomy 28 one comes into play, because Titus records that they tried to flee to places like Egypt and tried to sell themselves, but they didn't find people weren't interested in buying them as slaves. Why does God only speak to you if you believe? Why not just say what's up to everyone, so we all would know exactly? Exactly. If you want me to believe something, show up right now. Don't give me some shingling and you just appear right now. Yeah. And then I got some questions first. And your answers better be that's some bullshit that people wrote. I ain't write that shit. Coach on the strongest drug in the world. And that is the Jesus drugs make more money than anything. Yeah, that is one of the strongest drugs in the world. See, you can tell, like, that dude that I banned his ass. Now you're saying probably in Egypt 70 AD. Before you said there was no one there until 330. I said Ethiopia. You see how they don't listen? And I was saying that he was probably confusing the churches established in Egypt over the churches in Ethiopia. People don't listen. But I blocked his ass. I ain't got you don't know how to speak without insult, then I ain't got time for you. Because if you can't respect me, then there's no reason for me to respect you, and then there's no reason for you to be here. He's probably sitting somewhere telling some, oh yeah, see, he couldn't handle the information. He couldn't handle the information, so that's why he blocked me. That's why he blocked me, because he couldn't handle the information. No, you're a rude bastard. That's why you got blocked. And you don't listen. That's why you don't block. You got blocked. I at least listen to people. He said, look it up. I looked it up. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm not. Not at least that in that case. So, no. But I guarantee, I bet y'all any money that he over there, just like how you used to have Samuel Tate on here, and you just can't, you don't listen, you got to be insulting, so you got to go. You got to go. I ain't got time for that. Views be damned. Since all Africans spend so much time on the Jewish writing, why aren't we writing today for our kids to follow? There are so many writing tools today. What are the writings? I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that one. Since all Africans spend so much time on Jewish writings, why aren't we writing today for our kids to follow? There are so many writing tools used today. this is why I started this channel. In all honesty, I started this channel so that my children would have my information, that they would know what I know. But you are right. But the problem is that we're so stuck on this Jewish writing. We're so caught in this Jewish Roman writing. We're so caught up into it. We've been believing it because it was forced down the world's throat for so long, and it's brainwashed people. So people are staying stuck on this religion, and that brainwashing continues. So until people start finding something different, a different understanding, they're going to stay stuck in it, even though we can write. But thankfully, we are doing these videos. Thankfully, other people are doing videos, are doing other writings that's debunking a lot of this information, because that is going to help to move people away from this religion. This is also why economics is. You always find like the countries that have the most wealth, where the wealth is spread more evenly and people are living better lives, they are less religious because they don't have a dependency on these religions. Now, this is why economics is are very important. But as long as people are still downtrodden, poor, feeling oppressed, they're going to keep holding on to this religion. And as long as families and mothers and fathers keep teaching their kids this bullshit, they're going to keep on doing it. But it is going away. It is dying. I would wager that within the next, and I know it's a long time, but within the next 200 years, this religion would probably be a small cult religion. It'll be like the Zoroastrians, which is only about 300,000 people today. But there may be a different version of it. We have no idea. I hate when people say they feel God, but if someone feels God and shoots up a mosque or a school, then that person is crazy. Exactly, because it's all about their feelings. It's what they feel. It's their insides. It's their own mindset. Yeah, I had to get rid of him, man. He had to go. Yeah, I ain't got time for that. The writings of today is nothing more than smut and misogyny. It's not worth savings. Now, depending upon what you're talking about, I'm talking about philosophical things, mental alchemy things, hermetics. Not that I'm not talking about. I don't even know. I can't even give a title of some of these. I don't know. I'm not talking about what's them singers? What's that girl? Nicki Minaj. I'm not talking about her stuff. Religion is used for the rich because it keeps the poor poor. Yeah, because you got poor people still waiting for heaven somewhere. 200 years from now, it's a cult right now. Yeah, it's a cult right now, but it's a big cult. It's big. But I'm talking about when it's little. When it's little. They need to get small. When people are looking at them like, look at them crazy people. And that's the thing. I'm loving the fact that chakras is becoming more and more popular because it helps people get over their fears. Because King said, I thought you had to go back to work. I think that people are just full of fear. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness until I read the book on my own without my family in my ear. Yeah, and people are. And I love the fact that I hear, it's funny to me when I hear Christians talking to me, I opened my chakras. I'm like, no, you can't. No, you didn't, because you still live in the fear of hell. If your chakra is open, then you understand that there is no such thing as hell, because hell will be something that you create, not something outside of you creates. That it's a mental state. And so how can you have open your chakras if you still are dealing with fear, guilt, shame, anxiety, all those sorts of things? The need for a savior mindset has flooded the people. Poverty has allowed for an all-time low in self-esteem and worth, which allows the ignorance, unlearned men to control through fear and threats of violence. Yep. And that's why we have to change the economic standing of the people so that they can stop living with this low self-esteem that allows, because they're looking for something outside themselves to save them. Now, there's always going to be some people who are going to be in that situation because they just won't do what's necessary to change their life. And you have to be, that's the other hard part. Somebody had asked about it earlier, the will. if the will is not there for them to change it, they're not going to change it. Oh, you sneak out to work when you can. Okay, gotcha. Don't get, hey, I don't want you to call it. I don't want you to see coming on here one day talking, man, I lost my job because of you, Coach Reeves. When one opens their pineal gland, one will know. Yeah, but you got to open them other ones first. Because if you don't overcome those other issues that blocks the other chakras, then your pineal can never fully open. So you can't, there's no fear, no shame, no guilt, understanding what love is and how it should be administrated, speaking truth of yourself, not about everybody else, not about everything else, but just truth of self. And then you can open your pineal gland to realize how connected everything is and see everything for exactly what it is, not for what you have any desires for it to be. One of my family members had a prayer table. No, ma'am. That's an altar. You're in denial. It certainly is. If you got a prayer table, that certainly is an altar. And you're right. The heart is the key, because everything below is the matter plane. Law of correspondence is the matter plane A, B, and C. The heart is where you take a 90-degree turn into the spiritual plane. You know, so spiritual plane C, B, A. But hell, it's 3:16. I mean, 3 hours and 16 minutes now went by. Y'all tricking me. It's 2:16. I got to get off this thing. I got to find this person who is using my face to promote the products. And I got some other videos to make. I appreciate you guys. I am going to cut up some of that video from yesterday and utilize it. I might cut up some of this video. I need to get into this. See, this is the lazy part of me. The lazy part of me says that I wish somebody else would cut up these videos into nice little segments that got, these good parts on here. Like when old boy is like, hey, this is 70 AD and it was in good. And then I go and I read and I find to see that it's not. And it's like, hey, no, dude, you're full of shit. And you won't come back and admit it. Or when old boy was talking about I'm going to find that part. He told me he let his daughter, marry a rapist. That's a good clip, I'm too lazy to do it on a consistent basis. I'm telling you. Because now I only have like 2.5 hours before Angelina gets home, about 3 hours before Angelina gets home. So I got to get this stuff done, a few other things I need to get done. And because I would not take time away from her if it's at all possible. So we're going to end today. I appreciate you guys. And yeah, I know I won't be doing a video tomorrow. I'll be doing some videos tomorrow, but I won't be doing a live tomorrow, of course. But Saturdays and Sundays, I normally don't. The only time you'll see me on a Saturday is Angelina has to work for some strange reason. But beyond that, no. So I will see you guys on Monday. On Monday, I see you on a Monday. And then we'll continue with our conversations. So y'all have a great day and have a great weekend. We're going to Oktoberfest in Georgia. So y'all have a great weekend. And remember, always, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is not negotiable. Good journey, good vibration. And please continue. And thank you for all the shares that you guys do of sharing the videos, all the videos. Please continue to share them. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. And we're out.